The courtroom fell silent as my Uncle James straightened his expensive tie and declared with absolute confidence, "Your Honor, I purchased all 12 properties from my brother fair and square. I have the signed documents right here." Judge Martinez raised an eyebrow, looking between the stack of papers James's lawyer was presenting and my calm expression. "Ms. Chen, your response to your uncle's claim." I opened my laptop, maintaining eye contact with James as I connected it to the courtroom's display system. "Your Honor, I'd like to show you a video recorded at Sunrise Valley Nursing Home 3 weeks ago. The date and time stamps are authenticated." James's lawyer suddenly stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "Objection, Your Honor. This evidence wasn't submitted during discovery." "Actually," I smiled, "it was." Page 47 of our evidence list clearly includes a video testimony from Richard Chin, dated March 15th. "Your office acknowledged receipt." The judge nodded. "Objection overruled. Proceed, Ms. Chen." As I pressed play, I watched James's face transform from smug certainty to growing horror. On the screen, my father's face appeared, tired but clear-eyed, as he systematically destroyed James's elaborate scheme to steal our family's legacy. But let me back up and explain how we got here. I'm Anna Chin, 34, a corporate lawyer specializing in real estate transactions. My father, Richard Chin, built a successful property development business from nothing after immigrating to America in the 1980s. Through decades of hard work, he acquired 12 valuable commercial properties across the city. Dad's pride was the Chin Plaza shopping center downtown, but each property had its own story. The apartment complex he bought and renovated for immigrant families, the office building where he gave preferential lease terms to minority-owned businesses, the warehouse he converted into affordable artist studios. Uncle James, my father's younger brother, took a different path in life. While Dad built his business through honest work, James bounced between get-rich-quick schemes and failed ventures. He was always looking for the easy way, the angle to exploit. "Your uncle just needs time to find his path," Dad would say whenever James asked for money. He helped James out of numerous financial holes over the years, always believing his brother would eventually straighten out. 3 years ago, Dad was diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's. It was devastating for our family, watching this brilliant, detail-oriented man struggle with basic tasks. My mother Mary became his primary caregiver, but as his condition worsened, we made the difficult decision to move him into specialized care at Sunrise Valley. That's when James started showing up more frequently, always when I was at work. He'd bring documents for Dad to sign, claiming they were routine business matters that Dad had supposedly discussed with him earlier. The nursing staff later told me they felt uncomfortable about these visits, but James would insist it was family business and that he had authority to handle Dad's affairs. I first noticed something was wrong when I was reviewing Dad's quarterly property management reports. Lease payments for several properties had been redirected to new accounts. When I investigated, I discovered paperwork claiming James had purchased all 12 properties for a fraction of their value. The documents were dated over the past year, during periods when Dad's confusion was at its worst. James had taken advantage of his own brother's illness to steal millions of dollars worth of property. Dad would never sell the plaza, I told my mother. He planned to pass these properties to us for community benefit. We need to fight this. But James had prepared well. He had documents, witnesses, all somehow connected to his latest business ventures, and a story about Dad wanting to simplify his affairs before his condition worsened. What James didn't know was that I'd been quietly documenting everything, every suspicious visit, every questionable document, every irregular financial transaction. More importantly, I'd been recording Dad's moments of clarity at the nursing home. Sunrise Valley had an excellent memory care program that helped residents maintain and document their lucid periods. The staff worked with me to record Dad's statements about his properties and his relationship with James. "I would never sell the plaza," Dad said clearly in one recording. "That's for Anna to manage for the community. James knows this. He's trying to steal what I built." We filed a lawsuit to void the property transfers, alleging fraud and exploitation of a vulnerable adult. James countersued, claiming the sales were legitimate and demanding the courts enforce the contracts. That's how we ended up in this courtroom. watching James's carefully constructed scheme collapse as my father's video testimony played on the large screen. In the video, Dad methodically went through each property, explaining its significance and his plans for its future. He directly addressed James's claims, pointing out specific details that proved the sales couldn't have happened as described. The warehouse, Dad said on screen. James claims I sold it last August. I was in the hospital with pneumonia all that month. Check the records. I wasn't signing any documents. The judge leaned forward, clearly engaged. James's lawyer had stopped objecting and was furiously whispering with his client. The plaza, Dad continued. The contract shows I signed it on Mom's birthday. We were all at her celebration dinner. James wasn't even there. He was in Las Vegas that weekend. Check his credit card statements. One by one, Dad demolished the fake sales. He recalled dates, meetings, and details that proved James's documents couldn't be genuine. More importantly, the video showed Dad's clear mental state when discussing these matters. My brother thinks because I'm sick, I don't remember, Dad said sadly, but I remember everything he's doing. He's stealing from his own family. When the video ended, the courtroom was silent except for James's heavy breathing. His lawyer stood up slowly. Your Honor, my client would like to request a brief recess to discuss. To discuss what? Judge Martinez interrupted. How to explain the multiple instances of fraud just revealed, the apparent forgery of documents, the exploitation of a vulnerable adult. The judge turned to James directly. Mr. Chen, I've seen a lot of property disputes between family members, but this is extraordinary. You took advantage of your own brother's illness to steal his life's work. James tried one last desperate play. Your Honor, those videos could be edited. My brother's condition means he's easily confused. The videos are authenticated by the nursing home staff. I interjected. We have their sworn statements about Dad's mental state during filming. We also have security footage of your visits, showing you pressuring Dad to sign documents while he was heavily medicated. James's lawyer began packing his briefcase. Your Honor, given this new evidence, my client would like to withdraw his countersuit and discuss a settlement. Oh, we're way past settlement, Judge Martinez said firmly. This court is referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for criminal investigation. Mr. Chen, I suggest you find a criminal defense attorney. I watched my uncle's face crumple as he realized the magnitude of his mistake. He'd assumed that Dad's illness meant there would be no consequences for his actions. He'd underestimated both Dad's moments of clarity and my determination to protect our family's legacy. The judge's ruling was comprehensive. All property transfers to James were voided. He was ordered to repay any rental income he'd collected, plus penalties and legal fees. The evidence was referred for criminal prosecution for elder abuse and fraud. As we left the courthouse, my mother squeezed my hand. Your father would be so proud of you, she said. You protected everything he built. The aftermath of the court case sent shockwaves through our extended family. James's reputation was destroyed. His business associates, learning how he tried to steal from his sick brother, wanted nothing to do with him. Criminal charges followed, resulting in a plea deal that required full restitution and barred James from any involvement in property transactions. He eventually moved to another state, but not before making one last attempt at manipulation. You've ruined me, he told me during a chance encounter at a family funeral. My own niece, destroying my life. No, Uncle James, I replied calmly. You ruined yourself when you tried to steal from your sick brother. I just made sure there was evidence. The Chin Plaza and our other properties continued to serve the community as Dad had intended. I took over management, implementing the plans Dad and I had discussed during his lucid periods at Sunrise Valley. The warehouse artists kept their affordable studios. The immigrant families in our apartment complex stayed in their homes. The minority-owned businesses in our office building continued to grow and thrive. Dad's condition progressed as Alzheimer's inevitably does, but he had moments of joy seeing his properties continue their mission. The nursing home staff would drive him past the plaza, and his face would light up with recognition. Anna manages now, he would say proudly. She understands. It's not just buildings, it's community. The video that exposed James's scheme became a teaching tool at the local bar association's ethics seminars. Estate lawyers used it to demonstrate both the vulnerability of elderly clients and the importance of documenting capacity. James's lawyer was sanctioned by the state bar for his role in the fraud. He admitted knowing the documents were questionable but claimed James had assured him everything was legitimate. A lawyer's duty is to the truth. The Bar Association panel wrote in their decision, not to enabling family members to steal from vulnerable relatives. 2 years after the court case, I was reviewing property records when I discovered something interesting. James had attempted to take out loans against several properties during the period he claimed to own them. The banks had declined their due diligence, revealing issues with his ownership claims. Your uncle tried to leverage properties he didn't own, my assistant explained, showing me the rejected loan applications. The banks saw red flags and reported them, but the reports went to departments that didn't communicate with each other. This discovery led to a new policy at our management company, regular audits of all property records and loan applications, ensuring no one could ever attempt James's scheme again. The criminal case against James concluded with a plea agreement. He admitted his crimes, agreed to restitution, and accepted a ban from any property-related business. The judge, noting the exploitation of a vulnerable family member, also required community service at an Alzheimer's care facility. Maybe working with dementia patients will teach you empathy, the criminal court judge told him, though I doubt it. Mom moved into a cottage on the Plaza property, keeping Dad's vision alive through community programs and events. She started a support group for families dealing with early-onset Alzheimer's, sharing our story as a warning about protecting vulnerable relatives. The nursing home strengthened their protocols around document signing, requiring independent verification for any legal or financial papers. They used Dad's case to train staff on recognizing and preventing financial exploitation. Dad's moments of clarity became less frequent, but he never lost his connection to the properties he'd built. Sometimes he'd point out windows in the nursing home, describing buildings only he could see. Each one has a purpose, he'd say. Each one helps someone. James made one final attempt at redemption, sending a letter through his new lawyer offering to make amends in exchange for dropping the criminal charges. Your uncle still doesn't understand, Mom said, reading the letter. This was never about money, it was about trust and family. We donated the video evidence to an elder abuse prevention organization, which used it to create training materials for financial institutions and healthcare workers. Dad's story helped protect other vulnerable seniors from similar exploitation. The Chin Plaza thrived under new management policies I implemented based on Dad's original vision. We expanded the community programs, added affordable housing units, and created a small business incubator for immigrant entrepreneurs. This is what the properties were meant for, I explained to a local business journal, not as assets to be stolen, but as resources to build community. James's betrayal had an unexpected positive effect. It brought the rest of our family closer together. Relatives who had enabled his schemes in the past now understood the importance of protecting vulnerable family members. Regular family meetings became a tradition, with transparent discussions about property management and community impact. We established a family council to oversee the properties, ensuring decisions aligned with Dad's original mission. The legal community took notice of our case. I was invited to speak at conferences about elder financial abuse and property fraud. The video evidence became a powerful tool for teaching lawyers about protecting vulnerable clients. Dad's legacy grew beyond the physical properties. The Chin Family Foundation was established, providing scholarships for immigrant students and grants for community development projects. The artist studios in the warehouse produced a collaborative art installation about memory and family, dedicated to Dad. It traveled to galleries nationwide, raising awareness about both elder abuse and the importance of affordable spaces for artists. James's daughter, my cousin Sarah, contacted me a year after the court case. She discovered additional evidence of her father's schemes, attempts to defraud other family members that hadn't succeeded. I found his notebooks, she said, sharing documents that revealed the full scope of his plans. He was going to steal from anyone he could. You stopped him before he could hurt more people. The notebooks became part of the criminal case record, leading to additional charges and an extended ban from financial activities. James's schemes had been more extensive than anyone realized. Dad's condition continued to progress. But the nursing home staff found that visits to the properties could still bring moments of engagement. They developed a therapy program around these visits, helping other residents maintain connections to their past achievements. The courtroom video remained in my office, a reminder that sometimes protecting family means standing up to family. The judge's laughter at James's claims became less important than Dad's clear voice describing his legacy. 5 years after the court case, the Chin Plaza hosted a community celebration of Dad's vision. Tenants, residents, and community members shared stories about how the properties had impacted their lives. "Mr. Chen gave us a chance when no one else would," said Mrs. Rodriguez, who'd opened her first restaurant in the plaza 20 years earlier. "Now my children have opportunities one never dreamed of." James never attended family gatherings again, his shame or anger keeping him away, but his attempts to steal our family's legacy had only made that legacy stronger, more resilient, and more focused on its original purpose. The properties remained in family management, protected by legal structures I created based on our experience. Future generations would continue Dad's mission of building community through responsible property development. Dad's video testimony, which had exposed James's fraud, became part of our family history. It showed not just the defeat of a deception, but the strength of a man who, even facing cognitive decline, fought to protect what he'd built for others. The judge's laughter at James's claims was just a moment in court, but Dad's vision for his properties continues to change lives. His legacy isn't just in buildings or legal victories, but in the communities that thrive because he understood that property ownership comes with responsibility. And that's something no fraudulent document could ever steal.
I never thought a single piece of paper could destroy everything I'd worked for. But there it was, sitting innocently on my desk between Teresa Martinez's book report and Danny Chen's math homework, a plain white envelope with my name written in perfect cursive. My name is Harper, and until that Monday morning in October, I was living what I considered a pretty good life. I'd spent the last 5 years teaching 3rd grade at Riverside Elementary, had finally paid off my student loans, and was 3 months into living with Lucas, the kind of guy who brings you coffee in bed and never complains about doing the dishes. The first warning bell hadn't rung yet, and my classroom still had that early morning emptiness that usually felt peaceful. Not today. My hands trembled as I opened the envelope, the paper inside crisp and expensive feeling. "Dear Miss Sullivan, your inappropriate relationship with a married parent from last year's class has been noted. Resign quietly, or the school board will receive evidence of your misconduct. You have until Friday to make your decision." I read it 3 times, my stomach dropping further with each pass. The accusation was completely false. I'd never had any kind of relationship with a parent, married or otherwise. But my mind raced through every interaction I'd had with parents over the past year, searching for anything that could be twisted into something sinister. "Harper, you okay?" I jumped, quickly stuffing the letter into my desk drawer. Sarah Chen, Danny's mom and our PTA president, stood in my doorway with a concerned look on her face. "Oh, good morning, Sarah." Just lost in thought. I forced a smile, hoping she couldn't see how badly my hands were shaking. "Thanks again for organizing the fall festival. The kids are so excited." "Of course. Though I can't take all the credit. Evelyn Prescott's connections really helped secure the donations this year." Sarah beamed. "She's quite something, isn't she? Such an influential woman in our community." I nodded, trying to keep my expression neutral at the mention of Lucas's mother. I still hadn't met her despite dating her son for over a year. Lucas always had some reason why the timing wasn't right. The first students started trickling in, filling the room with their usual morning chatter. I went through the motions of greeting them, checking homework, and starting our daily routine. But my mind kept drifting to that letter, tucked away in my desk like a ticking bomb. During lunch, I called Lucas. "Hey, beautiful, what's up?" His voice was warm, familiar. "I need to talk to you about something. It's important." I lowered my voice, though the teacher's lounge was empty. "Someone left a threatening letter on my desk this morning." The line went quiet for a moment. "What kind of threat?" I explained about the letter, the accusation, the deadline. With each word, the silence on his end grew heavier. "I'll come over tonight," he finally said. "We'll figure this out together, okay?" But something in his voice made me uneasy, like he wasn't entirely surprised. That afternoon, as I was packing up to leave, I noticed another envelope on my desk. My heart nearly stopped, but this one was different. A cream-colored invitation to the annual Prescott Family Foundation Charity Gala. The note attached read, "Dear Miss Sullivan, your presence is requested this Saturday evening. We look forward to finally meeting our son's companion. Regards, Evelyn Prescott." Perfect cursive matched the threatening letter exactly. I sat there, staring at both pieces of paper as the pieces started falling into place. Lucas had always said his mother was protective, traditional, concerned about the family's reputation. But this was something else entirely. I pulled out my phone to call him again, but stopped. Instead, I took photos of both the letter and the invitation, my hands steady now. If Evelyn Prescott wanted to play games, she'd learn I wasn't the easy target she thought I was. Lucas arrived at my apartment that evening with takeout from our favorite Thai place, but I couldn't eat. I kept thinking about those 2 letters sitting in my bag, their matching handwriting like a signature on my death warrant. "You're sure it's your mother's handwriting?" I asked, pushing my pad thai around the container. Lucas ran his hand through his hair, a nervous habit I'd noticed early in our relationship. "I can't be certain, but..." He trailed off, avoiding my eyes. "Look, my mother can be intense about certain things, but threatening your career? That doesn't sound like her." I pulled out both letters, laying them side by side on the coffee table. "Really? 'Cause these look pretty identical to me. And suddenly she wants to meet me after a year of convenient excuses? Harper, please." His voice had that pleading tone that usually melted my resolve. "Not tonight. The gala could be a good thing. A chance to clear the air." "Clear the air? Lucas, someone is threatening my job. My entire career could be ruined, and you're acting like this is just some minor family drama." The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Through the peephole, I saw my mother standing there with her signature worried expression. "I called her," Lucas admitted quietly. "I thought maybe we could use some perspective." My mother swept in, bringing with her the familiar scent of library books and lavender hand cream. One look at my face and she pulled me into a hug. "Oh, sweetie," she said, then turned to Lucas. "Would you mind giving us a moment?" He nodded, grabbing his keys. "I'll go pick up some coffee. We could all use some." Once he was gone, my mother picked up the letters, examining them with the same careful attention she gave to rare books at her library. "Well," she said finally, "someone certainly wants to get your attention. But threatening letters rarely come with formal party invitations." "Mom, this isn't funny." "No, it's not. But it is revealing." She sat down, patting the spot next to her. "Tell me about Lucas's mother. What do you know about her?" I realized, sitting there, how little I actually knew. "She's some kind of socialite. Runs a family foundation. Lucas doesn't talk about her much. And in a year of dating, she's never made an effort to meet you?" My mother's tone was gentle, but I heard the concern underneath. "That's quite a statement in itself, don't you think?" Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Jenna. "Why didn't you tell me Lucas was a Prescott? Like Prescott Foundation Prescotts? Just saw the gala guest list at work. Girl, we need to talk." My stomach dropped. I showed the text to my mother, whose eyebrows shot up. "The Prescotts." She let out a low whistle. "Honey, that family practically built this city. Their foundation funds half the hospitals in the state, including the one where Jenna works." The door opened and Lucas returned, carrying 3 coffee cups. He froze when he saw our expressions. "When were you going to tell me?" I asked quietly. "Tell you what?" "That you're not just some regular software developer. That you're part of the Prescott family. He set the coffee down carefully like he was buying time. It's not. I didn't want it to change things between us. You're so real, so genuine. Everyone else I've dated only saw the family name. So you just decided to hide a huge part of your life from me? For a year. My voice cracked. And now your mother is threatening my career because, what, I'm not good enough for a Prescott? Harper, that's not. My mother stood up, gathering her purse. I think you two have some talking to do. Harper, call me tomorrow. She hugged me, whispering, remember, people who play games usually have something to lose. After she left, Lucas and I sat in silence. Finally, he spoke. I'll talk to my mother. Clear this up. Just come to the gala. Give her a chance to know you. I looked at him, this man I thought I knew completely, and wondered what else he wasn't telling me. Fine, I said. But I want the truth, Lucas. All of it. No more secrets. He nodded, but something in his expression made me wonder if I was walking straight into Evelyn Prescott's trap. Prescott Mansion loomed before me like something out of a Gothic novel, complete with wrought iron gates and perfectly manicured hedges. I smoothed down my dress, the nicest one I own, but probably worth less than one of their doorknobs, and tried to ignore the trembling in my hands. Ready! Lucas squeezed my hand, but I noticed he was sweating too. Before I could answer, the massive front door swung open. A tall woman with steel gray hair and perfect posture stood there, wearing what looked like casual evening wear but probably cost more than my yearly salary. Lucas, darling. Evelyn Prescott's voice was honey smooth, but her eyes were arctic when they landed on me. And this must be your teacher friend. The way she said teacher made it sound like a communicable disease. Mother, this is Harper Sullivan. Harper, my mother, Evelyn Prescott. I extended my hand. It's lovely to finally meet you, Mrs. Prescott. She ignored my hand, turning back into the house. Do come in. Henry's waiting in the study. The interior was exactly what you'd expect from old money, antiques, oil paintings, and the subtle smell of lemon polish. But something felt off, staged almost like we were walking onto a set rather than into a home. Lucas's father turned out to be surprisingly warm, greeting me with a genuine smile and firm handshake. Harper, we've heard so much about you. Though not nearly enough, I'd say. He shot a pointed look at his wife. Well, Evelyn said, settling into an armchair like it was a throne, perhaps Miss Sullivan could tell us more about herself. Your background, for instance. I felt Lucas tense beside me. Mother. It's fine, I cut in, meeting her gaze. I grew up here in the city. My mother's a librarian. My father passed when I was young. I put myself through college and have been teaching at Riverside Elementary for 5 years now. How admirable. Evelyn's smile didn't reach her eyes. Though I understand there have been some concerns at the school recently. My blood ran cold. Lucas stood up abruptly. I need a drink. Harper. White wine, please, I managed, though my throat felt desert dry. Henry, help him with the drinks? Evelyn's tone made it clear it wasn't a request. Once we were alone, she leaned forward. Let's be direct, shall we? Lucas has a bright future ahead of him. Prescott Foundation is expanding internationally, and he'll be taking a leading role. He needs someone suitable. And a teacher isn't suitable? Oh dear. She laughed softly. You seem intelligent enough. Surely you understand that Lucas was merely experimenting with a simpler life, playing at being ordinary. But he belongs in our world. The world of threatening letters and blackmail? Her expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. I'm sure I don't know what you mean, though it would be unfortunate if certain allegations about your professional conduct were to surface. Before I could respond, Lucas returned with the drinks. But he wasn't alone. A stunning woman about my age followed him in, moving with the kind of confidence that comes from never having to shop clearance racks. Victoria! Evelyn's entire demeanor transformed. What a lovely surprise. I hope you don't mind me dropping by, Victoria said, her smile dazzling. When I heard Lucas was home for dinner. Of course not, darling. You're practically family. Evelyn's emphasis on family felt like a slap. Victoria and Lucas practically grew up together. They were even engaged briefly, weren't you, dears? I watched Lucas's face carefully. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Ancient history, Victoria laughed, but her gaze lingered on Lucas. Though some things are worth revisiting, wouldn't you say? The room suddenly felt airless. I stood up, my untouched wine glass trembling slightly. Excuse me, I need to use the restroom. Down the hall, second door on the right, Evelyn directed, her voice dripping with false concern. Though if you're feeling unwell, we'd completely understand if you needed to leave early. As I walked away, I heard Victoria's musical laugh mixing with Evelyn's satisfied chuckle. But it was Lucas's silence that hurt the most. In the bathroom, I gripped the marble countertop and stared at my reflection. The woman in the mirror looked scared, out of place, exactly how Evelyn wanted me to feel. Not anymore. I pulled out my phone and texted Jenna. Need everything you can find on Victoria and the Prescotts. Time to fight fire with fire. Jenna's research arrived in a flood of texts at 3 a.m. I couldn't sleep anyway, lying there in Lucas's empty bed. He was working late again, the third time this week since the dinner disaster. Girl, you won't believe this, Jenna's final message read. Victoria Chong isn't just Lucas's ex. She's on the Prescott Foundation board now. And guess who just approved a $50 million donation to rebuild the pediatric wing at my hospital? I stared at my phone until the screen went dark, then got up and started packing. By sunrise, I'd filled 3 boxes with my things from Lucas's apartment. My classroom felt like the only safe space left, until Sarah Chen appeared in my doorway during lunch break. Harper, do you have a minute? Her usual warmth was replaced with something careful, measured. The board is calling an emergency meeting this afternoon. They've received some concerning information. My stomach dropped. About me? She nodded, not quite meeting my eyes. They're saying there are photos from last year's field trip with Jason Miller's father. Jason Miller, the quiet kid whose parents went through a brutal divorce. His father had hugged me, crying, after I helped Jason through a panic attack during the museum trip. That's ridiculous, I said. There were dozens of parent chaperones that day. I know, but... Sarah hesitated. The foundation is our biggest donor. Mrs. Prescott has considerable influence. Of course she did. I was gathering my things to leave when Henry Prescott appeared in my classroom. He looked older than he had at dinner, tired around the eyes. Miss Sullivan. May I? He gestured to one of the tiny student chairs. I nodded, watching him fold his tall frame into the chair with surprising grace. My wife, he said carefully, is very protective of our family's reputation. Sometimes, destructively so. Is that why you're here? To protect the family reputation? He smiled sadly. No. I'm here because 30 years ago I made the mistake of letting Evelyn drive away someone I cared about. Someone who wasn't suitable. I've regretted it every day since. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Lucas. Where are you? Why are your things packed? He doesn't know what his mother is doing, does he? I asked Henry. Lucas sees the best in people. Especially his mother. Henry stood up, wincing slightly. But he's not blind, just afraid of losing his family. The question is, are you afraid of losing yours? He placed a business card on my desk. My private number. When you're ready to fight back, call me. That evening, I found Lucas waiting at my apartment. You're moving out? Without talking to me. His voice cracked. Harper, whatever's wrong, we can fix it. Can we? Because your mother is trying to destroy my career, and you're too busy having drinks with Victoria to notice. That's not, wait, how do you know about your lunch meetings? The foundation dinner last week? Jenna works at the hospital, Lucas. People talk. He ran his hands through his hair, pacing. It's not what you think. Victoria's helping me with a project. The pediatric wing. I know. I felt strangely calm now. The same week your mother threatens my job, you're secretly meeting with your ex to arrange a multi-million-dollar donation. Quite a coincidence. Harper, please. The board meeting today? They're reviewing photos your mother somehow got, trying to paint me as someone who preys on vulnerable parents. My voice finally broke. And where were you? Having another business lunch with Victoria? The silence stretched between us like a chasm. I love you, he finally said. But you don't understand the pressure, the expectations. You're right. I don't understand choosing family reputation over doing what's right. I pulled out Henry's card. But I understand fighting back. Lucas's eyes widened. My father gave you that? Harper, whatever you're thinking. Get out, Lucas. I opened the door. And tell your mother she picked the wrong teacher to bully. After he left, I called Henry's number. It was time to learn how the other half really lived, and how they could fall. Henry's information led me to the annual Prescott Foundation Gala, though not as a guest. I was working it, serving champagne to the city's elite while gathering intel. Jenna had pulled strings through her hospital connections to get me in, disguised as catering staff. Mrs. Prescott likes her martinis extra dry, Victoria's voice carried across the ballroom. She stood with Evelyn, both of them glittering in designer gowns. Just like her sense of humor. Their laughter felt like needles under my skin. I adjusted my black uniform and kept moving, Henry's words echoing in my head. Watch, listen, and wait for the right moment. Lucas arrived late, looking uncomfortable in his tuxedo. The sight of him still made my heart skip, even after everything. He scanned the room, and for a moment our eyes met. I turned away quickly, but not before seeing the flash of recognition cross his face. Harper! He started moving toward me, but Victoria intercepted him. Dance with me, she purred, leading him to the floor. Your mother's been asking about the ring. The champagne flute in my hand cracked. I set the tray down, ducking into a service corridor to check my bleeding palm. Quite a grip you've got there. I spun around. Henry stood in the shadows, holding out a handkerchief. I shouldn't be here, I whispered, wrapping my hand. This was a mistake. On the contrary, in about 10 minutes, Evelyn will make her annual speech. And this year, she's in for quite a surprise. Before I could ask what he meant, screams erupted from the ballroom. We rushed back to find Evelyn sprawled on the marble floor, Victoria kneeling beside her. She just collapsed. Victoria's voice carried across the stunned crowd. Lucas, call an ambulance. I started to retreat, but Henry gripped my arm. Wait. Evelyn stirred, her voice weak but carrying in the silent room. Victoria. The papers. My purse. Victoria grabbed Evelyn's clutch, but as she opened it, papers spilled across the floor. I recognized them immediately, the threatening letter, the doctored photos, but also something else. Bank statements. Transfer records. Lucas picked up one of the papers, his face darkening. Mother, what is this? Why are you transferring foundation money to a private account? It's not what you think, Victoria jumped in. We were restructuring the pediatric wing funding. Through your personal account? Henry's voice boomed across the room. Interesting approach to philanthropy. Crowd began to murmur. I watched Evelyn's face as she realized what was happening. Her collapse had scattered the evidence of her schemes for everyone to see. You, she hissed, looking at Henry. You planned this? No, my dear. You did. Every scheme, every manipulation, every attempt to control our son's life. I just made sure the truth came out. Lucas was still reading through the papers, his hands shaking. The threatening letters to Harper, the false accusations. You were behind all of it. I was protecting you. Evelyn struggled to her feet, shrugging off Victoria's help. That girl would have ruined everything we built. The only thing ruined, Henry said quietly, is your credibility. The board members here tonight have seen enough, I think. I started backing away again, but Lucas caught sight of me. Harper, wait. He moved toward me, but stopped short when Victoria grabbed his arm. Lucas, please, Victoria pleaded. Everything I did for us. There is no us, he snapped, pulling away. There never was. But I was already running, pushing through the service entrance into the cool night air. Behind me, I could hear Lucas calling my name, Evelyn's angry shouts, the growing chaos of the gala falling apart. My phone buzzed, a text from Henry, Phase 1 complete. Ready for Phase 2. I stared at the message, my bleeding hand throbbing in time with my racing heart. Evelyn was exposed, but not destroyed. Victoria was desperate, which made her dangerous. And Lucas? Another text came through, this time from Lucas. I know the truth now. Please let me explain. I deleted both messages without responding. Revenge, I was learning, was like a champagne glass, crystal clear until it shattered, leaving everyone bleeding. The question was, how much more blood would be spilled before this was over? The morning sickness hit just as I was reviewing Henry's latest message about Phase 2 of our plan. Funny how life has its own timing. I barely made it to the bathroom before losing my breakfast, my phone clattering to the floor. 3 pregnancy tests later, I sat on my bathroom floor, staring at identical pink lines that were about to complicate everything. My phone buzzed again. Lucas, we need to talk. Please. Before I could respond, another message came through, from Victoria this time. Meeting at Riverside Park. 2 p.m. Come alone or the school board gets an anonymous tip about your condition. My hand instinctively went to my stomach. I hadn't told anyone yet, not even Jenna. How did Victoria know? Park was deserted except for a few joggers. Victoria sat on a bench overlooking the river, looking perfectly put together despite the scandal at the gala. Evelyn's in the hospital, she said without looking at me. Stress-induced breakdown, they're saying. The foundation board is launching an investigation. I didn't come here to discuss Evelyn. No. She finally turned to me, her smile sharp. Not even to discuss how she'll react when she learns she's going to be a grandmother? Though I suppose that depends on who the father really is. My blood ran cold. What are you talking about? Jason Miller's father. The one from those photos? You two seemed close. She pulled out her phone, showing me a series of pictures. Me hugging Mark Miller during the field trip, both of us crying. Without context, it looked intimate, damning. Those pictures are from months ago. He was thanking me for helping his son. Details don't matter. What matters is the timing. She zoomed in on the date stamp. About 12 weeks ago, wasn't it? Around when you and Lucas were taking a break? The nausea returned, stronger this time. You're insane. Maybe. But I'm also very good at math. And very good at making people believe what I want them to believe. She stood up, smoothing her skirt. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave town. Start fresh somewhere else. I'll make sure you get a good recommendation for a teaching position far away. And if I don't, then these photos go public, along with some very convincing evidence about when exactly you started showing. Lucas will never know for sure if the baby is his. Neither will anyone else. My phone buzzed again. Henry, don't do anything rash. We're close to. Victoria snatched my phone, reading the message before I could stop her. Her laugh was cold. Still plotting with Henry? Poor Harper. You really think he cares about you? He's just using you to get back at Evelyn, just like she used me. She threw my phone into the river before I could react. You have 48 hours to decide. After that, everything goes public. She started walking away, then paused. Oh, and Harper? Lucas proposed to me last night. He thinks it's best for everyone if we stick to our original plan. The plan his mother and I made years ago. I watched her leave, my mind spinning. Without my phone, I couldn't contact Henry or verify her claim about Lucas. Pregnancy tests felt like they were burning a hole in my pocket. Walking home, I passed the elementary school. Sarah Chen was outside, speaking with what looked like board members. They stopped talking when they saw me, their expressions grim. At my apartment, Lucas was waiting by the door. Harper, thank God. I've been trying to reach you. I pushed past him into my apartment, but he followed. My mother's in the hospital. Victoria says you threatened her at the gala, that you and my father planned everything. And you believe her? My voice cracked. He ran his hands through his hair, looking lost. I don't know what to believe anymore. But Victoria showed me the photos. From the field trip. Why didn't you tell me about Mark Miller? I stood there, one hand unconsciously protecting my stomach, watching the man I loved choose to believe the worst about me. Get out, I whispered. Harper! Get out. After he left, I sat in the dark, surrounded by the ruins of my life. My career, my relationship, my reputation, all destroyed. And now, a baby whose paternity would always be questioned. Victoria had one. Or maybe Evelyn had. In the end, did it matter which Prescott woman destroyed me? I wasn't planning to go to the hospital. But when Henry texted from my mother's borrowed phone about Evelyn demanding a DNA test, something in me snapped. 3 days of hiding in my apartment, throwing up and crying, had left me raw and reckless. The hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic and lies. Victoria stood outside Evelyn's private room, blocking my path. You're not welcome here, she hissed. Actually, she is. Henry emerged from the room. The DNA test results just arrived. Victoria's perfect composure cracked. That's impossible. The lab said. I had them rush it. Henry's smile was cold. Along with another test I requested. One comparing Lucas's DNA to mine. The hallway went silent. Lucas appeared behind Victoria, holding a manila envelope. Open it, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. He did, his hands shaking slightly. I watched his face as he read, saw the moment everything he thought he knew crumbled. This can't be right, he whispered. What does it say? Victoria demanded. The baby is mine. Lucas looked up at me, then at Henry. But according to this, you're not my father. A harsh laugh came from inside the room. Evelyn stood in the doorway, still elegant despite her hospital gown. Of course he's not. Her voice was bitter. Henry's known for years. Haven't you, dear? Known that your precious son belongs to Charles Winston. Victoria went pale. Charles Winston? My father. And suddenly, everything clicked into place. Victoria wasn't just Evelyn's ally, she was Lucas's half-sister. That's why you've been so desperate to keep us apart, I said to Victoria. You knew the truth would come out if anyone looked too closely at the family genetics. I was protecting our family. Victoria's composure shattered completely. Mother promised if I helped her, no one would ever know. Know what? Lucas cut in. That you're my sister? That everything, the photos, the threats, the lies about Harper, was to keep this secret? To protect you, Evelyn insisted. Victoria understood what was at stake. Our reputation, our standing. Your lies, Henry corrected. I kept your secret for years, Evelyn, because I loved Lucas as my own. But watching you destroy an innocent woman's life to protect your precious reputation? That's when I knew it had to end. I stepped closer to Evelyn's bed. You were so worried about your family's reputation being ruined by a teacher. But you ruined it yourself years ago. You understand nothing. Evelyn tried to sit up, her monitor beeping frantically. Everything I did was for this family. No, Lucas said quietly. Everything you did was for yourself. He turned to Victoria. You're my sister. All this time, you knew and still helped her try to destroy Harper? Victoria flinched. Lucas, please. Get out. His voice was ice. Both of you. I never want to see either of you again. Evelyn made a choked sound. Lucas, he said, get out. I surprised myself by taking Lucas's hand. He squeezed back. After they left, Henry handed me another envelope. The board members received copies this morning. Every scheme, every manipulation documented. Your reputation is cleared, Harper. The school board is meeting tomorrow to formally apologize. Lucas turned to me, his eyes full of pain and hope. Harper, I'm so sorry. I should have trusted you, should have seen through their lies. The baby, our baby, isn't going to fix this, I finished. Trust, once broken, isn't easily repaired. I know. He swallowed hard. But I want to try. If you'll let me. I looked at Henry, who nodded slightly. Sometimes, he said, the truth hurts before it heals. Inside the hospital, the sun was setting. I touched my stomach, thinking about the tiny life growing there, free now from Victoria's threats and Evelyn's lies. But as Lucas held the car door open for me, I wondered if knowing the truth was really the same as finding peace. Some wounds, like some secrets, take longer to heal than others. 6 months later, I stood in my classroom watching my students file out for winter break. My expanding belly made it harder to reach the top of the whiteboard now, but the kids found it endlessly fascinating, especially when the baby kicked during story time. The last parent left, and I noticed an envelope on my desk. For a moment, my heart stopped, but this one was different, cream-colored with a hospital logo. Thought you might want to see this, Henry said from the doorway. He'd been stopping by regularly, checking on me in his quiet way. Evelyn's doctors say the treatment is working. The personality disorder diagnosis explains a lot, though it doesn't excuse anything. I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter in Evelyn's handwriting, different now, shakier, more human. You don't have to read it, Henry added quickly. I know, but I did anyway. The letter wasn't an apology exactly. Evelyn wrote about control, about fear, about watching her perfect world crumble decades ago when Charles Winston ended their affair. How she'd shaped Victoria into her image, weaponizing her own daughter's pain. How seeing Lucas happy with me had triggered all her old fears of losing control. She's asking to meet, I said finally. To talk about the baby. Henry nodded. Lucas knows. He's leaving the decision to you. Lucas and I were trying. Slowly, carefully, rebuilding trust through therapy sessions and honest conversations. He'd moved into a small apartment nearby, close enough to be involved with the pregnancy, far enough to give me the space I needed. Victoria had left town after the truth came out, but she'd sent one message through Henry. I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt my brother. She was in therapy too, I heard. Working through what it meant to be both victim and perpetrator in her mother's games. Miss Sullivan? Sarah Chen appeared in my doorway, holding a gift bag. The PDA wanted you to have this for the baby. Inside was a beautiful hand-knitted blanket. Card was signed by all the parents, including Mark Miller, whose son Jason had finally started smiling again in class. We never doubted you, Sarah said softly. Not really. That evening, I met Lucas at our favorite Thai place. He looked tired but hopeful, the way he always did these days. I got Mom's letter too, he said after we ordered. What are you thinking? I'm thinking about cycles, I replied. How hurt people. How secrets poison families across generations. He reached for my hand across the table. And I don't want that for our son. I placed his hand on my belly where the baby was kicking. But I don't want him growing up without knowing his family either, the good and the bad parts. The whole messy truth. So you'll meet with her? Yes, but not alone. I squeezed his hand. We do this together or not at all. Later that night, I found another envelope in my coat pocket, this one from my mother. Inside was an old photo of her holding me as a baby and a simple note: love protects, but fear controls. Choose love always. I pinned the photo next to my ultrasound picture, studying the two images. In both, there was fear, hope, love, possibility. The cycle of family, breaking and healing, breaking and healing. My phone buzzed with a text from Henry. Evelyn's doctors cleared her for visitors next week. Still sure about this? I looked at the ultrasound again, at this tiny person who would inherit all our stories, all our scars, all our hopes for something better. Yes, I texted back. It's time to break the cycle. Because that's the thing about family secrets, they don't die in the light. They transform. Sometimes into understanding, sometimes into forgiveness, sometimes into wisdom that helps the next generation choose a different path. I touched my belly, feeling my son move. We'll do better, I whispered. Not perfect, but better. And in the end, maybe that's all any family can hope for. The chance to learn from the past without being trapped by it, to love despite the scars, to choose truth over comfort, healing over hiding, to begin again, eyes wide open, hearts cautiously hopeful, ready to write a new story.
I've spent my whole life being the responsible one, the reliable daughter who never caused trouble. Tonight, I'm about to make the biggest mistake of my life, and the worst part is, I know it. My name is Roslyn, and I'm staring at my laptop screen at 11:47 p.m., cursor hovering over the transfer button. $50,000. My brother Casey needs it for his startup, or so everyone keeps telling me. Just think about the family's future, Mom had said at dinner earlier, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. Her pearl bracelet caught the light, a gift from Casey last Christmas. I got a scented candle. Casey stood at the head of the table, tablet in hand, pitching his revolutionary social media platform for pet owners. It's Instagram meets LinkedIn, but for dogs and cats. We're calling it PawNet. I pushed my food around my plate. Isn't that basically just regular Instagram? People already post their pets there. Roslyn, Dad's voice carried that familiar edge of disappointment. Your brother has worked hard on this business plan. The least you could do is show some support. Casey flashed his winning smile, the one that got him out of trouble all through high school. It's not just photos, sis. We're talking pet play dates, breed-specific networking, automated treat delivery systems. With what infrastructure? I asked. Mum clicked her tongue. Always so negative, sweetheart. This is exactly why you're still stuck in that tiny apartment while Casey's out there taking risks and building something. I bit my tongue. They didn't know about Sullivan, about our plans, about the real company we'd been quietly building for the past 3 years. Look, Casey said, pulling up a chair next to me. I've got other investors lined up. Big names, but they want to see family backing first. It's just smart business. Dad leaned forward. Your mother and I have already pledged what we can. This is your chance to be part of something bigger than yourself, Roslyn. To finally contribute. The words stung like they were meant to. 28 years of being the invisible child. And suddenly I had the chance to matter. My phone buzzed. A text from Sullivan. Don't do it. You know he'll burn through it in weeks. I slipped the phone back into my pocket. How much did you say you needed again? Casey's eyes lit up. 50K, but you'll get it back triple, minimum. My friend Heidi's done all the projections. The same Heidi who got sued by her last 3 business partners, I asked. God, why are you being such a bitch about this? Casey snapped. If you don't want to help, just say so. Mum gasped. Dad's fork clattered against his plate. I'm sorry, Casey backpedaled immediately. I'm under a lot of pressure here. This is my shot, sis, please. I looked around the table, at Mom's pleading eyes, at Dad's stern disappointment, at Casey's practiced vulnerability. A lifetime of memories crashed over me. Casey's graduations, where my achievements went unmentioned. Family photos where I was told to stand in the back. Christmas mornings where his pile of presents dwarfed mine. Fine, I said quietly. I'll transfer it tonight. The celebration that followed made me feel sick. Mum cried happy tears. Dad actually hugged me. Casey promised this would change everything. Now, sitting in my dark apartment, I'm about to press that button. My phone buzzes again. Sullivan. Last warning, this isn't even your money to risk. It's seed funding for Skydrop. We've worked too hard. My fingers hover over the keyboard. He's right. This is wrong on every level. But then I remember Dad's words. Finally contribute. I hit transfer. The confirmation screen blinks at me cheerfully, as if I haven't just betrayed 3 years of work with Sullivan, as if I haven't just handed my brother a loaded gun to point at my future. My phone buzzes one final time. Sullivan again. You did it, didn't you? I stare at the message for a long moment, then delete our entire conversation history. In the morning I'll have to face him, have to explain why I gave away our initial seed money to my brother's doomed venture. But right now I just sit in the dark, watching my bank balance drop by $50,000, and wonder how someone so supposedly smart could do something so incredibly stupid. The worst part isn't the money. It's not even betraying Sullivan's trust. It's knowing that somehow, when this all goes wrong, and it will go wrong, they'll find a way to make it my fault. I close my laptop and press my forehead against the cool surface. Happy now, Mum and Dad? I whisper to my empty apartment. I finally contributed. 3 months. That's how long it took for $50,000 to vanish into my brother's revolutionary pet social network. I should have known something was wrong when Casey stopped answering my texts about financial reports. I'm sitting in my parents' living room again, but this time there's no celebratory dinner, just silence and accusation. She pushed me into rushing the launch, Casey says, pacing behind the couch where our parents sit. I told her we needed more time for market research, but she kept demanding updates. I almost laugh. Almost. I sent you 3 texts in 3 months asking for basic accounting. See, Casey throws his hands up, always with the numbers. You suffocated the creative process with your constant pressure. Mom dabs at her eyes with a tissue. Rosalind, how could you do this to your brother? Do this to him? My voice comes out steadier than I feel. He burned through $50,000 in 90 days. No product, no users, nothing. Dad stands up, towering over me like I'm 10 years old again. Your brother had a vision, but you couldn't help micromanaging, could you? Always having to prove you're the smart one. Where did the money go, Casey? I ask, turning to face him. Show me the expenses. Casey's face reddens. Heidi handled most of the... Heidi? I pull out my phone. The same Heidi who posted Instagram stories from Bali last month on what was supposed to be our launch week. Business development, Casey shouts. We were meeting investors at a 5-star resort. Enough! Dad's voice booms through the room. This ends now. Your brother took a risk which is more than you've ever done. He had the courage to try something big, and you sabotaged him with your constant negativity. I stand up slowly. I gave him $50,000, my entire savings. The lie tastes bitter, but I can't tell them about Sullivan. Not now. And look how you gave it, Mom chimes in. With conditions, with judgment. Money doesn't come with strings attached in this family, Roslyn. Unless it's from me, apparently. Casey slumps onto the couch, head in his hands. I trusted you to believe in me. But you wanted me to fail, didn't you? To prove you were right all along. That's not... Get out! Dad points to the door. Until you can take responsibility for what you've done to this family, you're not welcome here. I look at Mom, but she turns away, shoulders shaking with theatrical sobs. Casey won't meet my eyes. Responsibility, I say quietly. Fine, let's talk about responsibility. Let's talk about how Casey spent $15,000 on team-building exercises in Vegas, or how Heidi's business development trip cost more than most people's yearly rent. It's all public record. I pulled the bank statements. You had no right, Casey jumps up. That was confidential company information. It was my money! Dad grabs my arm. I said, get out. You've done enough damage. I wrench away from him. You know what? You're right. I have done enough. I'm done being the family ATM. Done being the scapegoat. Done with all of it. Typical Roslyn, Mom sniffs. Making everything about yourself. Your poor brother's dreams are ruined, and all you can think about is money. I walk to the door, then turn back one last time. Casey, tell them about the $20,000 you transferred to your personal account. Tell them about the lease on the new BMW. Tell them anything true, for once in your life. He doesn't. Of course he doesn't. Outside, the summer air feels thick and heavy. My cousin Charlotte runs up to me as I reach my car. I heard everything, she says, hugging me tight. They're wrong. This isn't your fault. I hug her back, then pull away. Thanks, Charlie. But I need to go. At home, I open my laptop. One folder sits on the desktop. Project Skydrop. Inside are 3 years of research, prototypes, and plans. Sullivan's face appears on my screen, a video call. I heard, he says simply, your brother's startup officially filed for bankruptcy this morning. Sullivan, He holds up a hand. Save it. What's done is done. The question is, are you ready to stop playing their games and build something real? I look at my phone, already flooded with angry messages from family members. Casey's probably told them his version of events by now. In their eyes, I'm the villain of this story. Fine. If they want a villain, I'll give them one. I'm ready, I tell Sullivan. Let's build something they can't ignore. He nods once, then ends the call. I start typing, my fingers flying across the keyboard. They think I'm financially irresponsible. Just wait until they see what I can do with real money and real purpose. This time I'm not asking for permission. I'm not seeking approval. I'm building my revenge, one line of code at a time. 5 years ago, I met Sullivan Warner at a hackathon in San Francisco. I was debugging code at 3 a.m. surrounded by empty Red Bull cans and half-eaten pizza when he stopped at my workstation. Neural interface for accessibility? He peered at my screen. Ambitious. I didn't look up. Someone has to be. He pulled up a chair. Show me. That night changed everything. Now, watching Sullivan pace our small but state-of-the-art lab, I remember why I trusted him from the start. He doesn't just talk. He builds. The prototype's ready, I tell him, adjusting the sleek headset on our test subject, Maria. She's been paralyzed from the neck down for 12 years. Maria, you remember the visualization exercise we practiced? She nods, eyes bright with anticipation. Think about moving my hand, but focus on the cursor. Sullivan stands behind her wheelchair, watching the monitor. The room holds its breath as Maria concentrates. Slowly, impossibly, the cursor begins to move across the screen. Then, with growing confidence, she starts typing, using nothing but her thoughts. Holy shit, our lead engineer whispers. Maria starts crying. I haven't written anything in 12 years. I squeeze her shoulder. Want to try sending a text? 20 minutes later, Maria has sent messages to her kids, ordered groceries online, and changed her Facebook status, all through Skydrop's neural interface. When we finish, she grabs my hand. You've given me my independence back, she says. How soon can others have this? Soon, Sullivan answers before I can. But first we need backing. Roslyn, it's time to show Phoebe what we've built. Phoebe Marshall arrives exactly on time, her Tesla pulling up to our unmarked building at 2 p.m. She's a legend in venture capital, known for funding the next big thing before anyone else sees it coming. "This better be worth the drive," she says, following us into the lab. "I'm missing my daughter's soccer game for this." "Maria," I say, "would you show Ms. Marshall what you can do?" For the next 30 minutes, Maria demonstrates Skydrop's capabilities: shopping, emails, social media, even basic game controls. All through thought alone. Phoebe's professional detachment cracks. "The interface response time is incredible. How did you solve the signal delay issue?" "That would be Rosalind's breakthrough," Sullivan says. "She developed a new type of neural pattern recognition algorithm. The same Rosalind who's been working as your research assistant for 5 years. Phoebe raises an eyebrow at Sullivan. "I'm starting to see why you've been so secretive about this project." I meet her gaze. "We needed time to get it right. No shortcuts." "Unlike your brother's venture," she says casually, "Pornet, was it? Quite the spectacular failure." My stomach tightens. "You know about that. I make it my business to know everything about potential investments, including family drama." She turns to Sullivan. "Smart, keeping her real work hidden. Family money can be complicated. Are you interested in the technology or not?" I ask sharply. Phoebe smiles. 20 million for 12%. Sullivan shakes his head. "That values us at less than 200 million. After what you've seen, 30 million, 15%, final offer." She pulls out her phone. "I can wire the first 10 million tonight." I look at Maria, still happily browsing the internet with her thoughts. "Make it 40 million, same equity. But we need guarantees about keeping the technology accessible to people who need it most." "Done?" Phoebe extends her hand. "Welcome to the big leagues, Rosalind. Try not to let your family know just yet. Something tells me they wouldn't understand." After she leaves, Sullivan pours us both a drink. "You know what this means? We're 3 weeks from soft launch. After that, everyone knows," I finish, "including my family. Are you ready for that?" I think about Casey's BMW, bought with my stolen money, about Mom's tears and Dad's accusations, about being called irresponsible while my brother partied in Vegas with investors' cash. "They wanted me to contribute something meaningful," I say, raising my glass. "Well, here it comes." Sullivan clinks his glass against mine. 2 meaningful contributions." Maria calls out from her workstation. "Hey, can I tweet about this yet?" "Not yet," I tell her, but I'm smiling. "But soon, very soon." My phone buzzes, a message from Charlotte. "Family dinner tonight. They're all talking about how you betrayed Casey. Wish they knew the truth, I type back, "They will, just not today." Looking around our lab at the technology we've built in secret while my family thought I was failing, I feel something shift inside me. The quiet, reliable daughter they ignored is gone. In her place stands someone they won't see coming until it's too late. Sullivan catches my expression. "Remember, revenge is best served with an IPO." I laugh, but we both know he's only half joking. In 3 weeks, my family won't just hear about my success. They'll choke on it. The email from my mother arrives at 3 a.m, subject line, "Family reputation." I shouldn't read it, but I do. "Your brother's bankruptcy has become public knowledge. The country club is buzzing with gossip. How could you let this happen to our family? Your father can barely show his face at work. If you had just been more supportive, given Casey the time he needed." I close the laptop harder than necessary. My phone lights up, Charlotte sending screenshots from our family's group chat, the one I've been removed from. "Casey, starting fresh. Sometimes you have to fall to rise stronger. Steigern resilience, erst entrepreneur life. Mom, so proud of my brave boy. Dad, that's my son, always getting back up." Attached is a photo of Casey at some rooftop bar, champagne in hand, tagged at the Ritz-Carlton. Below it, comments from family friends. Sorry about your sister's sabotage. And some people just don't understand business. Charlotte's message follows. This is insane. You gave him 50k and he's partying at the Ritz. I start typing a response but stop when another notification pops up. A memory from Facebook. 8 years ago. My college graduation. I'm in the background of a family photo, barely visible behind Casey, who's throwing up peace signs despite having dropped out 2 years earlier. Your brother's finding himself, Mom had said when he quit school. That takes courage. When I made Dean's list, don't get too proud, sweetheart. Nobody likes a show-off. My phone rings. It's Sullivan. Stop reading whatever you're reading, he says without preamble. The prototype testing went perfectly today. Focus on that. They're saying I destroyed the family reputation. Good. Let them. In 3 weeks, they can update their definition of family reputation to include having a billionaire tech founder they disowned. I laughed despite myself. Billionaire might be stretching it. Phoebe called. 2 more major VCs want in. We're oversubscribed for the Series A. A notification slides in. Mum's posted old photos of Casey's high school graduation. Our family's true success story, reads the caption. Roslyn, Sullivan's voice sharpens. Are you listening? Sorry, just watching my mother's latest social media campaign. Remember when you won that national coding competition in high school? Yeah, they forgot to come to the ceremony. Casey had a football game. And now you're about to launch technology that will change millions of lives. He pauses. While your brother posts poolside selfies with borrowed money. My doorbell rings. It's Charlotte holding 2 bottles of wine and looking furious. I'll call you back, I tell Sullivan. Charlotte bursts in. Have you seen what they're posting? It's like they're living in an alternate reality. She pulls up Instagram. Casey's posted another photo, this time with an inspirational quote about rising from adversity. The comments are full of our relatives, calling him brave, calling him resilient. Look at this one. Charlotte scrolls to a post from my mother. It's a throwback photo of Casey winning most likely to succeed in high school. The caption reads, Some people try to hold our children back out of jealousy, but true talent always shines through. They've completely erased you, Charlotte says softly, like you never existed. I take a long drink of wine. Remember my 10th birthday, when Casey crashed my party with his football team and Mom turned it into his celebration instead? Because he'd made second string. Charlotte pours more wine. God, they were always like this, weren't they? We just couldn't see it clearly back then. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. It's Heidi, Casey's ex-business partner. Your brother's telling everyone you forced him to rush the launch. Just FYI. Also, he still owes me 30k. I block the number. Charlotte grabs my laptop. We should say something. Post the bank statements. Show everyone what really happened. No. I take the laptop back. Let them post their photos. Let them rewrite history. In 3 weeks, none of it will matter. What happens in 3 weeks? I smile. I can't tell you yet, but trust me, they'll all know soon enough. Charlotte studies my face. You're planning something big, aren't you? That's why you're so calm about all this. Let's just say Casey isn't the only one who knows how to rise from adversity. Later, after Charlotte leaves, I open my work laptop. The Skydrop interface glows back at me, our latest test results showing unprecedented success rates. Tomorrow, we start trials at 3 major hospitals. My phone lights up one last time. Dad's posted now. An old photo of him teaching Casey to ride a bike. A father's greatest joy is watching his child succeed. No matter how many times they fall, you never lose faith. I close all my social media apps and open my project files instead. They want to talk about success, about rising from adversity, about faith and family legacy. Fine. In 3 weeks, I'll give them something to post about. The hospital boardroom falls silent as Maria types on the screen using nothing but her thoughts. 20 of the country's top neurologists watch, their coffee cups frozen halfway to their mouths. "Any questions?" I ask, standing beside her wheelchair. Dr. Roberts, head of neurology, clears his throat. The response time, it's impossible. There's virtually no delay between thought and action. Not impossible, I correct him, just unprecedented. Who did you say you work for again? Another doctor leans forward. I'm a product representative for Skydrop Technologies. The lie comes easily now. Sullivan and I agreed, until the launch, I'm nobody. Just another tech worker showing off a prototype. Maria smiles. Whatever they're paying you, it's not enough. This technology gave me my life back. A young journalist raises his hand, Santiago Fleming from Tech Insider. We didn't invite press, but he somehow talked his way in. How long has this been in development? I'm not authorized to discuss company details, I say smoothly, but I can show you more features. For the next hour, Maria demonstrates how she can control smart home devices, write emails, and even play simple games. The doctors whisper among themselves. Santiago takes furious notes. After the demonstration, he corners me in the hallway. You're not just a product rep. Excuse me, your answers are too technical. You understand the underlying architecture too well. He pulls out his phone. And I can't find any record of Skydrop Technologies before 6 months ago. I maintain my practiced smile. I'm afraid I can't help you with that. Come on, he grins. Give me something. This tech could change everything. People deserve to know the story behind it. They will, soon. Back at the lab, Sullivan's waiting with Phoebe. They're both grinning. The hospital trials exceeded every benchmark, Sullivan says. All 3 locations are demanding immediate contracts. Phoebe hands me a tablet. And the valuation just hit $387 million. Pre-IPO talks start next week. My phone buzzes. Charlotte's texting. You need to see this. She sent a link to Casey's LinkedIn post. Excited to announce my new venture capital consultancy. Failure taught me valuable lessons about due diligence and family trust. And blessed hunch in new beginnings. Your brother's got nerve, Sullivan remarks, reading over my shoulder, using his spectacular failure as a selling point. He's always been good at failing upward, I mutter. Phoebe clears her throat. Speaking of family, are you ready for next week? Once we announce, everything changes. I'm ready. I hand her back the tablet, but I want to be the one who does the reveal interview. Risky, Sullivan warns. Your family. My family thinks I'm a failure who destroyed their precious reputation. Let them keep thinking that for 6 more days. Santiago calls 3 times that evening. I let it go to voicemail. He's getting closer. I can tell from his messages. There's no record of you working in tech before this. Your background is fascinating. Why hide your involvement? Charlotte visits later, bringing takeout and questions. Something's happening, isn't it? You're different lately, calmer, like you know something everyone else doesn't. I pour us both wine. How's the family group chat? Toxic. Casey's playing the Phoenix Rising from Ashes card. Mum's calling him her resilient entrepreneur. Dad's talking about writing a book about supporting children through business failures. And what are they saying about me? She winces. Nothing. It's like you never existed. Perfect, I smile. Let them enjoy their narrative. Roz, you're scaring me a little. My phone rings again. Santiago. This time I answer. Fine, coffee tomorrow, off the record. Charlotte raises her eyebrows as I hang up. Who was that? Someone who's about to help me write a new story. I clink my glass against hers. One where the invisible daughter isn't so invisible anymore. Later that night, I get an email from Maria. Used Skydrop to video chat with my kids today. First time in 12 years I could press the call button myself. Thank you isn't enough. I forward it to Sullivan with one line. This is why we built it. He replies immediately. No. You built it because you saw something everyone else missed. Just like your family missed what was right in front of them. My laptop pings, a news alert about Casey. He's speaking at a small business conference about overcoming setbacks. The photo shows him on stage, my parents beaming in the front row. Enjoy the spotlight, big brother, I whisper to my empty apartment. You've got 6 more days. The SkyDrop interface glows on my desk, ready for tomorrow's final trial. Soon everyone will know what I've built while they were busy erasing me. Soon they'll understand what real success looks like. But first, I have coffee with a journalist who's about to help me change the narrative forever. Santiago orders a black coffee and gets straight to the point. You're the founder of SkyDrop, aren't you? What makes you say that? I stir my latte, keeping my expression neutral. He pulls out his laptop. Because I did some digging. 3 years of stealth development, revolutionary neural interface technology. And, at the centre of it all, a mysterious team that nobody can identify. He looks up. Except I found your thesis from grad school, the underlying theory for SkyDrop's core technology. It's all there. I say nothing. But here's where it gets interesting, he continues. 6 months ago, your brother's startup imploded. Your family blamed you for its failure. They've been practically crucifying you on social media. But the whole time I was building something that actually works, I finish. Something that matters. His eyes light up. Give me the exclusive, the full story. I glance at my phone. A text from Sullivan. It's time. Okay, I tell Santiago, but we do this my way. The article drops exactly 1 week later. The headline reads, The Invisible Founder, How Roslyn Harris Built a 400-year Tech Empire While Her Family Erased Her. Santiago didn't hold back. He detailed everything, the years of secret development, the successful trials, the revolutionary technology. But he also dug into the family drama, Casey's failed startup, my investment in it, their public smear campaign against me. My phone explodes within minutes. First, Charlotte. Holy shit, I knew it. Then Heidi, Casey's ex-partner. Should have partnered with you instead. Sullivan calls. It's going viral. Tech Twitter is on fire. Your brother's trending, but not in a good way. I'm about to reply when my father's name appears on my screen. For the first time in 6 months, he's calling me. Don't answer, Sullivan warns. I answer. What have you done? Dad's voice shakes with rage. Your brother's speaking engagement just got cancelled. Your mother's crying. Our phones are exploding with reporters. Funny, I cut him off. Now you know how it feels to have your reputation destroyed by family. This is different. We're your parents. Who disowned me? Who blamed me for Casey's failure? Who erased me from family photos? We need to meet, face to face, now. I check my email. Speaking requests, interview offers, investment proposals flooding in. Sorry, Dad. I'm a bit busy running my $400 million company. You know, the one I built while you were celebrating Casey's resilience. He switches tactics. Sweetheart, we didn't know. If you'd just told us, like you would have believed me, like you believed me about Casey's spending. My mother's voice joins in. I'm on speaker. We're still your family. You can't just... Actually, I can. Check the markets. SkyDrop just announced our IPO date. I hang up as Santiago calls. Your story just got picked up by every major tech outlet. Twitter's calling it the revenge story of the year. Charlotte sends another text. Mom's having a meltdown in the family group chat. Casey's gone silent. Dad's threatening to fix this. I forward the messages to Sullivan, who replies, Worth it? Before I can answer, a new email arrives. From Casey, subject line. Please, sis, I know I messed up, but this is destroying us. Mum can't stop crying. Dad's law firm partners are asking questions. My consulting clients are pulling out. Can't we talk about this, like family? I start typing. Family? You mean like when you blamed me for your failure? Like when you partied at the Ritz with my money? Like when you let them erase me? Delete. Instead, I send him a single link to Maria's public testimonial about how Skydrop changed her life. Below it, I write, "This is what real contribution looks like." My phone rings again. Santiago. "You're trending #1, he says. "People are calling you the stealth genius who built an empire while your family tried to destroy you. Your brother's motivational speaking website just went offline." Good. But here's the thing, he hesitates. Some are saying you planned this, that you let your family hang themselves with their own social media posts while you built your revenge in secret. Did you? I think about Casey's champagne photos, Mom's cruel posts, Dad's speeches about family legacy. The truth, I tell him. They wrote this story themselves. I just provided the ending. As if on cue, my father's name flashes on my phone again. This time, I let it ring. Sullivan messages. "Press conference tomorrow. Ready to show them what you've really built?" I look at my laptop, where Maria's testimonial plays on repeat, where thousands of comments pour in from people whose lives our technology could change. "Ready," I reply. "Time to rewrite the family legacy." The family dinner table looks exactly the same, but everything else has changed. Mum's perfect makeup can't hide her puffy eyes. Dad's hands shake slightly as he grips his fork. Casey stares at his plate, uncharacteristically silent. "Well," Dad finally says, "you wanted this meeting, huh? Talk." I take a slow sip of water. "Actually, you demanded this meeting. I'm just here out of curiosity." "Curiosity?" Mum's voice rises. "Our family is being torn apart, and you're treating it like some experiment. Funny how family matters to you now." I set down my glass. "Where was this concern when you were erasing me from photos, when you were calling me financially irresponsible?" Casey looks up. "I tried to apologize. By email. After my company's valuation hit the news." I pull out my phone. "Want to see the exact message? Right after your speaking engagement got cancelled." "That's not fair," Mom interjects. "Your brother's trying to make things right." Like he tried to make things right with the $50,000 he stole. "Borrowed," Casey corrects weakly. "For Vegas trips? For a BMW? For Heidi's luxury vacation?" Dad slams his hand on the table. "Enough, we're here to fix this, to be a family again." "Fix what, exactly?" I lean forward. "Your reputation, your social standing, Casey's consulting business." Charlotte, who's been quietly recording everything on her phone, speaks up. "Maybe start with an actual apology for, the months of public shaming." "We were hurt," Mom says. "We thought you'd betrayed your brother's trust, so you destroyed mine." I stand up. "You know what the difference is between Casey's startup and mine? His was built on hype and other people's money. Mine was built on years of work you never bothered to notice." "If you just told us," Dad starts, "would you have believed me? Or would you have told Casey immediately, let him try to take credit somehow?" Casey flinches. "That's not... Remember my coding competition in high school? The one you skipped for his football game? I won first place nationally. It could have paid for college. But you didn't even ask." Mum starts crying. "We're trying to understand." "No, you're trying to control the narrative again. But this time it's not working, is it?" Dad switches tactics. "What do you want? Money, recognition. We can have a proper family celebration for your success." I laugh. "Now you want to celebrate? After Santiago's article forced you to acknowledge me." "The article was a hit piece," Casey bursts out. "You humiliated us." "The article was the truth, every word, including the bank statements showing where my money went." Charlotte's phone catches everything. Mom's mascara running, Dad's reddening face, Casey's desperate attempts to backpedal. "What do you want from us?" Mom whispers. "Nothing." I pick up my bag. "That's the beauty of it. I don't need your approval anymore. I don't need your recognition. I built something that's helping people while you were busy protecting Casey's ego. Please, Dad stands. We can fix this. As a family, we'll make a public statement, show our support. Too late. The IPO announcement goes live tomorrow. Skydrop will be valued at over $1 billion, and not one of you can claim any part of that success. Casey makes one last attempt. Sis, please, my reputation is exactly what you earned. I head for the door. Just like mine. Charlotte follows me out, still recording. That was intense. Send me the video. Why? Planning more revenge? I smile. No, that was the last piece I needed. For what? For showing the world exactly who they are. One last time. My phone buzzes. Sullivan. You're trending again. Someone leaked footage of your brother partying in Vegas with your investment money. I look at Charlotte, who grins. Oops. The next morning, every tech blog carries the story. The video of last night's dinner goes viral. My parents' attempts at manipulation, Casey's fake remorse, all of it exposed. Santiago calls. Your family's trying to do damage control. Your brother just posted a lengthy apology on LinkedIn. Too little, too late? Way too late. Your story's being called the tech revenge saga of the decade. I hang up as another call comes in. Dad, again. This time his voice is different, broken. The partners are asking me to take early retirement, he says. Your mother's garden club uninvited her. Casey's lost every client. Karma's interesting, isn't it? We're your family, he tries one last time. No, I reply. You're the people who taught me exactly what not to be. I end the call and open my laptop to finish my IPO announcement speech. Tomorrow, I'll tell the world about Skydrop's mission to help people like Maria, about technology that actually matters. And my family, they can watch from the audience, just like I did all those years, silent, invisible, finally understanding what it feels like. The view from my office shows the city skyline, dominated by Skydrop's new headquarters. Below, a crowd gathers for the building's opening ceremony. Somewhere in that crowd, my family watches, uninvited but unable to stay away. Ready? Sullivan asks from the doorway. I adjust my blazer. Almost. Your brother's trying to get past security again, says he has a business proposal. Of course he does. I check my phone. Another missed call from Mum. A text from Dad about family healing. Charlotte bursts in. You need to see this. Casey's posting live from outside. His Instagram story shows him in front of our building. So proud of my sister's success. Family is everything. And I'm proud brother barn tech family. Unbelievable, Charlotte mutters. No, I correct her. Predictable. Maria wheels into my office, using Skydrop's latest interface to navigate her chair. The auditorium's full. Every major tech publication is here. I take one last look at my phone. Casey's still posting, trying to rewrite history again. Mum's joined in, sharing old photos she must have dug up, captioning them with, "Always knew she was special." Dad's professional network is suddenly full of posts about supporting innovative daughters. They never learn, do they? Sullivan observes. They can't, I reply, because they still think this is about them. The auditorium falls silent as I take the stage. In the front row, Maria sits with other beta testers, people whose lives Skydrop has already changed. Behind them, investors and journalists lean forward, hungry for the next chapter. Everyone expects me to talk about revenge today, I begin, about how I built this company while my family tried to erase me. That story's already been told. Movement at the back catches my eye. Casey trying to slip in. Security stops him. Instead, I want to talk about Maria, about James, Sarah, and Michael, about the millions of people who've lost their independence through injury or illness. Because while my family was busy posting about resilience, these people were showing me what real strength looks like. I gesture to Maria, who raises her hand, controlled by Skydrop's interface. The audience gasps. This technology wasn't built on revenge. It was built on something my family never understood. The difference between taking credit and creating value. Santiago, in the press section, types furiously. My phone buzzes with notifications as my words go viral in real time. So, yes, I let them think I failed. I let them write their posts and give their speeches. Because while they were busy managing their image, we were here, building something real. Maria demonstrates the interface, drawing applause. Other beta testers join in, showing how Skydrop has transformed their lives. Success isn't about proving people wrong, I continue. It's about proving yourself right, and sometimes the people who try to erase you just end up erasing themselves. After the presentation, Charlotte shows me social media. Casey's gone quiet. Mum's deleted her recent posts. Dad's LinkedIn has been deactivated. They finally got the message, she says. No, Sullivan interjects. They finally lost control of it. Maria approaches, smiling. Ready for the hospital announcements? I nod. We're launching in 50 major medical centres next month. Thousands of patients waiting. Miss Harris, a young woman stops me. I'm a computer science student. Your story. It inspired me to keep going when my own family didn't believe in me. I think of my younger self staying up late coding while my family celebrated Casey's latest non-achievement. Build something that matters, I tell her. The rest is just noise. Sullivan hands me a tablet, stock price soaring, pre-orders flooding in. Want to check the family group chat? No need. I look out at the city, at the Skydrop logo glowing against the darkening sky. Their story isn't mine anymore. Charlotte hugs me. Was it worth it? All of it. I watch Maria demonstrating Skydrop to a group of doctors, her face glowing with independence and possibility. Look around, I say. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about legacy, the real kind. My phone buzzes one last time. Casey again. Please, sis, one meeting, for family's sake. I delete the message without responding. Outside my window, the city lights twinkle, each one representing someone whose life we might change. Someone whose story matters more than family drama and social media posts. Sullivan clears his throat. The next presentation starts in 10 minutes. Ready to focus on what's real? I pocket my phone, leaving the past where it belongs. Always was. The audience waits below, but they're not here for family drama or revenge. They're here for innovation, for change, for actual value created. That's a story worth telling. That's a legacy worth building. And this time, no one can erase it.
The worst moment of my life happened in a doctor's office with cartoon giraffes on the walls. My daughter Gianna was coloring, humming to herself, while I watched the neurologist's lips move in slow motion. Words like progressive and treatment options floated past me as I gripped the edge of my chair, knuckles white. My name is Karen, and I never thought I'd be that parent, the one whose 5-year-old needs specialized medical care that costs more than a house. But here I was, nodding mechanically as Dr. Patterson explained my daughter's rare neurological condition, trying not to let Gianna see me cry. Mommy, look, I made you. Gianna held up her drawing, a stick figure with wild curly hair like mine, wearing a cape. Even now, she was trying to make me smile. That evening, I sat in my car outside my parents' sprawling Victorian home, rehearsing what to say. They had money. Serious money, the kind that funded my brother Brendan's yacht business without blinking, the kind that could save my daughter. The housekeeper let me in, and I found them in the study, Mom perched on her antique settee, Dad behind his mahogany desk, and Brendan lounging by the fireplace like he owned the place, which I would soon learn he practically did. Karen, Mom's voice was ice. This is unexpected. I cleared my throat. It's about Gianna. She's sick. The doctors found, oh, Karen. Mom sighed, cutting me off. What have you done now? Done? I haven't done anything. She has a neurological condition. It's genetic. It's nobody's fault. And the treatment? The treatment costs money, Dad finished, not looking up from his laptop. Money you don't have because you chose to be a single mother. Brendan snickered. I ignored him, pushing forward. Please. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious. She needs specialized care and my insurance won't cover most of it. I can work extra shifts, pay you back. That won't be necessary, Dad interrupted, finally meeting my eyes. We've made some decisions about the family assets. Everything's being liquidated and transferred to Brendan's business ventures. It's already done. The room spun. Everything? But what about Grandma Nora's trust? That was supposed to be split. Your grandmother's estate has been redistributed appropriately, Mom said primly, to someone who won't waste it on unfortunate circumstances. Brendan stood straightening his designer jacket. Face it, sis, a child like that, she's going to drain every penny you ever make. Maybe if you'd made better choices. I was on my feet before I realized it. Better choices? Like what? Like you? Running Daddy's money through your little yacht scheme while pretending to be a businessman? That's enough, Dad thundered. Karen, you made your bed. Now lie in it. We're done here. I turned to leave, then stopped. Something Grandma Nora had said to me before she died flickered through my mind. If they ever turn on you, I've made sure you're not alone. I'd thought she was being dramatic. Now, watching Brendan's smug smile as he texted on his phone, probably already bragging to his friends, I wondered what exactly my grandmother had meant. You know what? I said quietly. Grandma always said there would be a day when all your masks would fall off. I guess today's that day. Mom's face tightened. Your grandmother was a foolish woman who never understood how the real world works. I laughed, a hollow sound that surprised even me. No, she understood perfectly. That's what scared you, wasn't it? I walked out of that house knowing two things. I would never ask them for anything again, and somewhere, somehow, Grandma Nora had left me a weapon. I just had to find it. That night, after tucking Gianna into bed, I pulled out my grandmother's old letter, the one she'd made me promise not to open until I really needed it. Inside was a business card for a lawyer named Isaac Duncan, and a single line in her elegant handwriting. Always keep the receipts, dear, every single one. I didn't know it then, but that cryptic message would change everything. And my family? They had no idea what was coming. 3 months after my parents cut us off, I was juggling 3 jobs while watching my brother's success story plaster itself across social media. Between my shifts as a barista, virtual assistant, and weekend bookkeeper, I'd catch glimpses of Brendan's latest yacht launch or Mom's proud posts about her entrepreneurial son. Miss Karen? My regular customer Dave waved his hand in front of my face. You okay there? You've been steaming that milk for 2 minutes. I forced a smile. Sorry, just tired. What I didn't say was that I'd been up until 3 a.m. researching medical trials for Gianna's condition. My phone buzzed. Another Instagram notification. Brendan standing on his newest yacht, champagne in hand. The caption read, Another $1 million day at Evans Maritime. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for believing in excellence. That's a nice boat, Dave commented, peering at my phone. Friend of yours? Brother, I said, then added under my breath, unfortunately. The memory hit me like a punch to the gut. 12 years old, standing in our parents' garden while Brendan showed off his perfect report card. See, Mom had said, this is what applying yourself looks like, Karen. Your B's just show you're not trying hard enough. Never mind that I was taking advanced classes while working on the school newspaper. Never mind that Brendan had cheated off my papers for years. After my shift, I picked up Gianna from my neighbor Maria's apartment. Maria watched her for free between my jobs, saying it was good company for her own kids. "Mommy!" Gianna ran to hug me. "Look what I made!" She held up a paper chain of little people holding hands. "That's beautiful, baby." I hugged her tight, breathing in her strawberry shampoo smell. "Karen." Maria pulled me aside while the kids played. "A letter came for you today. Looks official." My heart stopped when I saw the law firm's letterhead. Isaac Duncan and Associates, Grandma Nora's lawyer. "Dear Ms. Evans," it read, "your presence is requested at a family estate meeting regarding final trust dispersals, Thursday, 2 p.m. I called Maria immediately. "Any chance you can watch Gianna on Thursday afternoon?" "Of course, but are you sure you want to go after what they did?" "I thought about Grandma Nora's note. Keep the receipts." "I have to. Something tells me this is important." That evening, while Gianna slept, I pulled out my evidence box. Everything I'd been collecting since that day in my parents' study. Bank statements showing suspicious transfers, screenshots of Brendan's business claims, old trust documents Grandma had given me just in case. My phone rang. Mom's number. I almost declined it, but curiosity won out. "Karen, are you coming to the meeting on Thursday?" "Hello to you too, Mom. Yes, I'll be there." "Well, don't expect anything. It's just formalities." I heard Brendan's voice in the background. "Let her come. It'll be funny." Mom's fake laugh crackled through the phone. "See you Thursday, dear." I hung up and looked at my evidence box. Funny, huh? We'll see who's laughing. The next morning, I dropped Gianna at her therapy session, the only one we could afford, once a month instead of the recommended weekly visits. "She's making progress," her therapist said, "but with more intensive treatment." I know. I watched through the window as Gianna concentrated on her exercises. I'm working on it. Back in my car, I pulled out Grandma Nora's letter again. There was something else written on the back that I hadn't noticed before. "Remember the summer you were 16 when Brendan wrecked your car and blamed you? I knew the truth then. I've always known the truth. Thursday will be your vindication." My hands shook as I read it again. Grandma Nora, the quiet observer who never missed a thing. What exactly had she planned? I opened my laptop and started typing, documenting everything, every slight, every lie, every manipulation. If Thursday was going to be what I thought it was, I needed to be ready. My phone buzzed again, another Instagram notification. This time it was Mom posting about family values and supporting success. The photo showed her, Dad, and Brendan at some charity gala. I smiled, thinking about Thursday. They had no idea that their perfect family facade was about to crack wide open, and I had front row seats to watch it fall. I arrived at Isaac Duncan's law office 10 minutes early, wearing the only business suit I still owned. The receptionist led me to a conference room where my family was already seated. Mom examining her manicure, Dad checking his phone, and Brendan smirking like he just won the lottery. "Karen." Isaac Duncan stood to greet me, his kind eyes crinkling. "Please sit here." He gestured to a chair directly across from my family. "Can we get this over with?" Brendan drawled. "Some of us have actual businesses to run." Isaac cleared his throat, pulling out a thick folder. "Yes, let's begin. We're here regarding the final dispersal of Nora's estate trust, with some previously sealed provisions." Mom straightened. "Sealed provisions? Everything was already distributed." "Not quite." Isaac adjusted his glasses. "Nora left specific instructions that certain clauses were to remain sealed until particular conditions were met." He pulled out a document. The first condition being, and I quote, "in the event that Karen or her children are disinherited due to discrimination, medical conditions, or unjust bias." The room went silent. Dad's phone slipped from his hand. "That's ridiculous." Mom snapped. We didn't discriminate. We made sound financial decisions. Isaac continued as if she hadn't spoken. Upon verification of this condition, which I have documented here, Karen becomes the primary executor of the True Family Trust. The what? Brendan stood up so fast his chair scraped the floor. The True Family Trust, Isaac repeated. The assets you received, Brendan, were from a secondary trust. The primary trust, worth approximately 2.4 times that amount, has remained sealed until now. My father's face turned purple. This is impossible. We would have known. Actually, Isaac interrupted, Nora was quite careful. She structured this years ago with multiple witnesses and ironclad documentation. She suspected her estate might be mishandled. He slid a document toward me. Karen, as executor, you have the power to review and potentially reclaim any misallocated assets, including those already distributed. Brendan slammed his hands on the table. You can't do this. That money is invested in my company. Which makes it even easier to reclaim, Isaac noted, as it's still technically family assets, just redistributed without proper authority. This is a joke, Mom said, but her voice shook. Karen put you up to this. Isaac's eyes hardened. Mrs. Evans, I've been your mother's lawyer for 30 years. Every document here is legitimate and binding. Would you like to see the notarized papers? I finally found my voice. How much? The primary trust is valued at approximately $8 million, Isaac said quietly, plus any reclaimed assets. Brendan collapsed back into his chair, face white. This will destroy my business. My investors? Should have done better due diligence, Isaac finished. There's more. He pulled out another envelope. Nora left specific instructions about medical care for great-grandchildren. In the event of any serious health conditions, treatment costs are to be covered in full by the trust. Tears pricked my eyes. Grandma Nora had thought of everything. This is what you wanted, isn't it? Mom hissed at me. To destroy this family? I met her gaze steadily. No, Mom. You did that when you turned your back on a sick child. If you do this, Dad warned, there's no coming back. Coming back to what? I asked. More judgment? More cruelty? My daughter needs medical care, and you chose your golden boy's yacht business instead. Brendan's phone buzzed. He checked it and went even paler. Leighton's calling. He's going to freak out when he hears. Yes, Mr. Leighton Ward. Isaac pulled out another document. Nora had some concerns about his investment practices. Perhaps we should review those next. Stop, Brendan begged. Please, Karen, we can work something out. I thought of Gianna's therapy sessions, of counting pennies for her medications, of my parents' cold faces when they turned us away. You're right, Brendan. We can work something out. I turned to Isaac. I'd like to begin the asset review process immediately. Of course. Isaac pulled out more papers. There's just one more clause we need to discuss. Mom started to speak, but Isaac held up his hand. And Mrs. Evans, before you consider any rash actions, you should know that Nora left very specific instructions about interference or retaliation. I sat back, watching my family's perfect world crumble, and felt nothing but peace. Grandma Nora's final gift wasn't just money, it was justice. This is absurd, Mom declared, standing up. The money's gone. Brendan's business is established. You can't just take it back. Isaac calmly opened another folder. Actually, according to Section 7.3 of the trust provisions, any assets transferred under fraudulent or discriminatory circumstances can be reclaimed through legal channels, especially given that Brendan's business is still technically a family investment vehicle. Fraudulent? Dad's voice rose. Watch your accusations! Let's review the timeline, Isaac suggested, spreading out documents. 3 days after Karen sought help for her daughter's medical condition, you liquidated family properties valued at $3.2 million. The next day, those funds were transferred directly to Evans Maritime LLC, despite the company showing significant operational losses. Brendan jumped up. Those weren't losses. We were expanding. By inflating asset values and misrepresenting investor returns? Isaac raised an eyebrow. Mr. Ward's creative accounting methods are concerning. My brother's phone buzzed again. He ignored it, his face ashen. This is a mistake, Mom tried again. Karen, think about what you're doing. This will ruin your brother's reputation. Like you ruined mine, I countered, telling everyone I was an irresponsible mother, that I somehow caused Gianna's condition. Dad slammed his hand on the table. You're making a scene. No, I said quietly. I'm making things right. Isaac pulled out more paperwork. I prepared the initial injunction documents. Karen, if you'd like to review them. Brendan's phone kept buzzing. Finally, he answered it, stepping away from the table. Leighton, now's not a good... What? No, don't do anything yet. I'll handle it. He hung up, sweat visible on his forehead. Karen, please. You don't understand. There are other investors involved, important people. Then they should have asked more questions about where their money was going, I replied. The conference room door opened. A tall man in an expensive suit burst in. Leighton Ward, Brendan's primary investor. I recognized him from the company photos. What the hell is happening? He demanded. The banks are calling about trust violations. Isaac remained unruffled. Mr. Ward, this is a private family meeting. Private? My money is tied up in this family meeting. Leighton turned to me. You must be Karen. Listen, you need to stop this right now. You have no idea what you're getting into. Actually, I said, I think I do. Grandma Nora kept very detailed records about your involvement with Brendan's company, including some interesting offshore transactions. Leighton's face went from red to white. That's confidential business information. Not anymore, Isaac interjected. As the new trust executor, Karen has full access to all financial records. You can't do this, Leighton hissed at me. If you go after the yacht company, I go down with it. Think carefully before lighting this fire. I stood up slowly. Are you threatening me, Mr. Ward? He's not. Brendan cut in quickly. Leighton, please let me handle this. Handle it? Leighton laughed hysterically. Your sister is about to blow up everything we've built. Everything you've stolen, you mean, I corrected. Mom tried one last time. Karen, if you do this, you'll never be welcome in this family again. I picked up my purse, gathering the papers Isaac had prepared. That's funny, Mom. I thought I already wasn't welcome. You made that pretty clear when you turned away your sick granddaughter. I'm filing the injunction paperwork today, I announced, heading for the door. You might want to warn your other investors, Brendan. Things are about to get very interesting. You'll regret this, Leighton called after me. I turned back one last time. No, I won't, but you will. Outside Isaac's office, my hands were shaking as I called Maria. How's Gianna? Perfect angel as always, she answered. They just finished watching a movie. Everything okay? I thought about the papers in my bag, about Brendan's panicked face, about justice finally being served. Everything's great, I replied. In fact, I think we might be able to start those weekly therapy sessions after all. As I drove home, my phone lit up with text messages from unknown numbers, probably Brendan's business associates starting to panic. I ignored them all. Grandma Nora had given me the ultimate weapon, the truth, and I was just getting started using it. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind. Isaac and I dug deeper into Brendan's business dealings, and each day brought new revelations, fake invoices, inflated valuations, money moving through shell companies like a shell game. Look at this, Isaac said, spreading documents across his desk. They claimed the Azure Dream Yacht was worth $2.1 million, but the actual purchase price was barely half that. The difference went straight to offshore accounts. I finished scanning the papers. How did they think they'd get away with this? People usually do when they think they're untouchable. Isaac adjusted his glasses. Your brother and Leighton were particularly creative with their accounting. My phone buzzed. Another text from Brendan. Please call me. We can fix this. I ignored it, just like I'd ignored the last 20 messages. Instead, I focused on the good news. Gianna had started her new treatment program, now that we could afford the specialists. I watched through the observation window as she worked with her therapist, her movements already stronger than last month. She's responding beautifully to the intensive therapy, Dr. Roberts told me. With consistent treatment, we're seeing remarkable progress. That afternoon, I had coffee with Maria, who'd become my closest confidant through all this. Your mother's been talking, she warned, stirring her latte, at the country club, at charity meetings, saying you're unstable, that you're destroying the family out of spite. I laughed. Let her talk. The court records speak louder. Speaking of courts, Maria lowered her voice. I heard Brendan's company accounts were frozen. Temporarily, I confirmed. Standard procedure when there's evidence of fund misappropriation. My phone lit up. A news alert. Local luxury yacht company under investigation. Below was a photo of Brendan leaving his office looking haggard. That evening, Leighton Ward was waiting by my car after work. You need to stop this, he said, stepping out of the shadows. I gripped my keys tighter. The investigation? That's out of my hands now. Maybe you shouldn't have cooked the books. Listen, he moved closer. There are powerful people involved. People who don't like losing money. Are you threatening me again, Mr. Ward? Because that worked out so well last time. He ran a hand through his hair, desperation replacing menace. Look, I have a family too. If this goes public, then you should have thought about them before helping my brother steal millions, I replied, getting into my car. At home, Gianna was drawing at the kitchen table while Maria's daughter helped her with homework. The sight made my heart swell. My little girl, getting stronger every day. Mommy, she held up her drawing. Look, I drew Grandma Nora from the picture in your room. I looked at the crayon portrait, a smiling woman with kind eyes and silver hair. My throat tightened. It's perfect, baby. Later that night, after Gianna was asleep, I checked my email to find a message from Isaac with more documents attached. Karen, found these in your grandmother's old files. Looks like she was tracking your parents' foundation dealings too. You might want to see this. I opened the attachments and felt my eyes widen. Donation money rerouted to personal accounts, tax write-offs for charitable contributions that never happened, years of careful fraud, all documented in Grandma Nora's meticulous handwriting. My phone rang. Dad's number. What do you want? Your mother is in tears, he said without preamble. Our friends are starting to ask questions. The foundation board is nervous. They should be, I replied. Have you checked your email lately? Silence. Then, what did you find? Everything, Dad. Grandma found everything. He cleared his throat. We could discuss terms, come to an arrangement. Like the arrangement you offered when my daughter needed help? I hung up. My laptop pinged another news alert. Luxury yacht company CEO steps down amid fraud allegations. Below was a statement from Brendan's company announcing his temporary leave of absence. I closed my laptop and walked to Gianna's room, watching her sleep peacefully. On her nightstand sat her medication, the expensive kind we couldn't afford 3 weeks ago. You were right, Grandma, I whispered to the darkness. Sometimes the best revenge is just letting the truth do its work. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from an unknown number. Your mother's spreading rumors about Gianna at school. Better watch out. I smiled. They still didn't get it. Every attack just proved Grandma Nora right about them. And there was still one more sealed envelope waiting to be opened. I hadn't planned on attending my parents' annual charity gala, but when I heard they were using it to restore confidence in the family foundation, I knew exactly what I had to do. The ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and wealthy donors in designer clothes. I walked in wearing a simple black dress, nothing fancy, but dignified. Heads turned, whispers started. "Oh my God," I heard someone mutter. "That's their daughter." Mom spotted me first. Her champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. "Security," she hissed to a nearby staff member. "Now." "Don't bother," I said loudly enough for nearby guests to hear. "I'm a legitimate guest. Technically, I control the foundation now." The whispers grew louder. Dad appeared at Mom's elbow, his face rigid. "Karen, don't make a scene." "A scene?" I smiled. "Like the scene you made when you turned away your granddaughter, or the scene Brendan made cooking books for his yacht company." Phones started appearing in people's hands. Several guests were quietly recording. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, my voice carrying across the suddenly quiet room, "I'm Karen, daughter of tonight's hosts. I have an interesting story to share about family values and charitable giving." "Stop this immediately," Dad growled. "Why? Afraid I'll mention how you diverted donation money to personal accounts, or how you claimed tax write-offs for charitable contributions that never happened?" The crowd shifted uncomfortably. I saw several board members exchange worried glances. "My daughter," I continued, "has a rare neurological condition. When I asked my wealthy family for help with her medical bills, they not only refused but disinherited me. Then they gave everything to my brother's fraudulent business venture." "That's a lie," Mom stepped forward. "We made responsible financial decisions." "Really?" I pulled out my phone. Should I show everyone the transfer records, or maybe the court documents from Brendan's investigation? As if on cue, Brendan burst through the doors, clearly drunk. "You," he pointed at me, "you ruined everything." "You ruined it yourself," I replied calmly. "I just exposed the truth." He lunged forward, grabbing my arm. "I'll show you truth." Security finally moved, but not to remove me. They pulled Brendan back as he struggled and shouted obscenities. "Get her out," Mom commanded, but the security guards looked uncertain, especially as more phones recorded the scene. "Your daughter needs help," a woman in the crowd called out to my parents. "How could you turn her away?" Mom's face twisted. "You think this makes you noble?" She spat at me. "It makes you bitter." "No," I replied, my voice steady. "It makes me free. Free from your manipulation, your lies, your false image of perfect family values, while you hurt the people who actually need you." The crowd had grown larger, drawn by the commotion. I recognized several influential donors and local media figures. "The foundation's records are being audited," I announced. "Anyone who's donated in the past 5 years might want to check how their money was actually used. The results are enlightening." "You're destroying this family," Dad shouted. "You destroyed it long ago," I replied. "I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth." As security escorted Brendan out, still cursing, my phone buzzed. A text from Isaac. "Check your email. Found the sealed envelope marked, 'If they keep fighting back.' You're going to want to see this." I looked at my parents, standing amid their crumbling social empire. "One last thing. Grandma Nora left another surprise. I'll let my lawyer explain the details, but let's just say, your control over the family's assets is about to get even smaller." Mom's face went white. "What are you talking about?" "You called Grandma Nora foolish," I reminded her, "but she saw everything, and she made sure justice would come, one way or another." I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mom, those rumors you've been spreading about Gianna at school, they just triggered another clause in Grandma's trust. You really should have read the fine print. As I walked out, I heard the buzz of shocked conversations, the sound of reputations shattering like fine crystal. My phone was already flooding with messages from reporters seeking comments. Outside, the night air felt clean and fresh. I thought about Gianna, safely at home with Maria, probably reading her favorite bedtime story about how she'd never again have to worry about getting the care she needed. My phone buzzed again. Isaac's message. Ready to open that envelope? I texted back, on my way. Behind me, I could hear my mother's voice rising in panic as more guests left the gala. Sometimes revenge isn't about striking back. It's about standing up and letting the truth do its work. And Grandma Nora, it seemed, had saved the best truth for last. Isaac's office was still lit when I arrived. He sat behind his desk, a thick manila envelope in front of him. Your grandmother, he said, was a brilliant woman. She knew exactly how your parents would react to everything. The initial trust revelation, the business investigation, all of it. And this is her final move? I gestured to the envelope. More like her checkmate. He opened it carefully. The clause was specific. If they continue to retaliate or cause harm after the initial trust revelation, especially toward you or Gianna. He pulled out a document and slid it across the desk. I read the first line and felt my breath catch. She's giving me the entire family foundation? Not just the foundation. Isaac spread out more papers. All family investment holdings, everything. She structured it so their continued hostile actions would trigger a complete transfer of control. My phone buzzed. Leighton's number, I answered on speaker. Karen, I'm turning state's witness. Your brother, the things he made me do, I'm telling them everything. I exchanged looks with Isaac. Smart choice, Mr. Ward. After hanging up, Isaac pulled out another document. The arbitration panel meets tomorrow at 9 a.m. Given the evidence and Mr. Ward's cooperation, this should be straightforward. The next morning, I sat across from my family one last time. Mom looked like she hadn't slept. Dad's hands shook slightly, and Brendan stared blankly ahead. The arbitration judge reviewed the documents. Based on the evidence presented, including Mr. Ward's testimony and the documented pattern of retaliatory behavior, I'm upholding the final trust provision. All family business holdings and foundation control will transfer to Karen, effective immediately. This is insane, Dad protested weakly. No, the judge replied. What's insane is discriminating against a sick child and then trying to destroy her mother for seeking justice. Brendan suddenly stood up. You want to know the truth? Dad knew the yacht business was failing. He needed somewhere to hide money before his own creditors came calling. It was his idea to inflate the valuations. Dad's face went purple. You little order! The judge banged his gavel. Mr. Ward has already provided detailed testimony about the fraud, unless anyone else would like to make self-incriminating statements. The room fell silent. After the hearing, Mom caught up to me in the hallway. We're your parents. You can't just take everything. Like you took Gianna's chance at treatment? Like you took my reputation, my dignity? We need that money, she whispered. The foundation. It's all we have left. I looked at her perfectly styled hair, designer outfit, manicured nails. No, Mom. What you need is to learn what it feels like to struggle, to know what it's like when someone has all the power to help you and chooses not to. Please, she said, we're family. You spat at my daughter for being sick, I replied quietly. Now you can choke on your own medicine. That afternoon, I met with the Foundation's board of directors. They listened intently as I outlined my plans for restructuring, focusing on medical research and support for families dealing with rare diseases. Your grandmother would be proud, one board member said afterward. She always said the foundation needed a heart, not just a checkbook. I drove home, thinking about how quickly everything had changed. Brendan's company had collapsed completely. Dad's creditors were circling. Mom was facing social exile from her precious country club circles. Karma hadn't just knocked, it had kicked down their door. At home, Gianna ran to greet me. "Mommy, look what I can do." She demonstrated her new physical therapy exercise, her movements stronger and more controlled than ever. "That's amazing, baby." I hugged her tight. "Can we visit Grandma Nora's picture tomorrow?" she asked. I made her another drawing. "Of course we can." Later, after Gianna was asleep, I sat in my quiet kitchen reading the final page of Grandma Nora's trust document. Her elegant handwriting filled the margins with one last note. "My dearest Karen, if you're reading this, they did exactly what I feared they would. But remember, I didn't give you this power for revenge. I gave it to you because you have the heart to use it right. Show them what real family values look like." I smiled, thinking of the medical research grants I planned to establish, the families we could help. My parents had chosen money over compassion. I would choose differently. My phone buzzed, a text from Dad. "We need to talk about arrangements." I replied with Grandma Nora's favorite saying, "Karma comes after everyone eventually. You can't get away with screwing people over your whole life." Then I turned off my phone and went to check on my daughter, the real winner in all of this. She slept peacefully, her future finally secure. "Happy birthday, sweetheart." I watched Gianna blow out her 6 candles surrounded by her friends from therapy group. The party room at the Children's Hospital, newly renovated through foundation funding, sparkled with decorations. Maria helped serve cake while I chatted with other parents. Many were beneficiaries of our new medical assistance program. "I still can't believe how much has changed," Sarah, another mom, said quietly. "Last year we were drowning in medical bills. Now Tommy's getting all the treatment he needs." "Speaking of changes," Maria nudged me, nodding toward the door. Mom stood there awkwardly, clutching a small gift bag. She'd lost weight and her clothes, while still nice, weren't her usual designer brands. I wasn't sure if we were welcome," she said. "That depends," I replied. "Are you here as a grandmother or as someone looking for money?" She flinched. "I deserve that. I wanted to give Gianna this." She held out the bag. It was mine when I was her age, before I forgot what mattered. Inside was a worn teddy bear, its fur loved thin in places. "Mommy, who's that?" Gianna appeared at my side. I hesitated. "This is your grandmother." Gianna studied Mom with that direct, innocent gaze children have. "The one who didn't want to help me get better?" Mom's eyes filled with tears. "The one who made a terrible mistake?" "Are you still making mistakes?" Gianna asked. "No," Mom whispered. "I'm trying to learn better." I watched them interact, remembering Grandma Nora's final words about using power right. "You can stay," I said, "but one wrong word." "Thank you," Mom said quietly. Dad and Brendan hadn't fared as well. Dad's creditors had seized most of their assets, and Brendan was facing potential fraud charges. Last I heard, he was working as a junior sales associate at a local boat dealership, a far cry from his yacht empire. After the party, I found a letter in my bag. Mom must have slipped it in. Inside was a newspaper clipping about the Foundation's new pediatric research initiative and a note. "Your grandmother chose better than we did. I'm sorry it took losing everything to see that. Mom." That evening, I sat at my computer looking at the Reddit post I drafted. The cursor blinked at the title. "My family disinherited me over my daughter's illness. My grandmother's revenge from beyond the grave changed everything." "What are you doing, Mommy?" Gianna climbed into my lap, still wearing her birthday crown. Telling our story, I said. Want to help? She pointed at the screen. Tell them about the teddy bear and how Grandma Nora made the bad things better. I smiled, thinking of the Foundation's latest project, a support network for families facing rare disease diagnoses. Next week, we'd break ground on a new specialized treatment center. My phone buzzed. A text from Isaac. Board approved the new scholarship program for medical research. Your grandmother would be proud. I looked at Gianna, now strong enough to dance and play like any other kid. At the teddy bear from Mom, a small step, but a step nonetheless. At the Foundation documents on my desk, outlining plans to help more families like ours. Revenge hadn't healed everything, but it had cleared the way for something better. I began typing our story. I never wanted to destroy my family, I just wanted them to help their granddaughter. But sometimes the universe has other plans. And sometimes those plans come in the form of a brilliant grandmother who saw everything and planned accordingly. Gianna snuggled closer. Can we visit Grandma Nora's picture tomorrow? Of course, baby. I hugged her tight. We'll tell her all about your party. The post would go viral. I knew that. People love stories about karma and justice, but the real story wasn't about revenge or money or power. It was about a grandmother's love, a mother's fight, and a little girl who got her chance at a healthy future. I added one final line to the post. To everyone out there fighting similar battles, keep your receipts, stand your ground, and remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about making sure nobody else has to go through what you did. Gianna pointed at the screen. Add that Grandma Nora was the best superhero ever. I laughed and typed, P.S. My daughter wants you to know that sometimes superheroes wear cardigans and leave very detailed instructions in their wills. Then I hit post and closed my laptop, turning to my daughter, my miracle, my reason, my victory. Ready for your bedtime story? She grabbed her new teddy bear and nodded. Can we read the one about the princess who saved herself? Perfect choice, I said, thinking how fitting that was. Because in the end, that's exactly what we'd done. Saved ourselves and then reached back to help others do the same.
The sold sign stabbed into my front lawn like a knife to the heart. I blinked hard, hoping it was just exhaustion playing tricks after a long day of client meetings. But there it stood, red and white and cruel, marking my home as someone else's property. My name is Willow, and until 5 minutes ago, I thought I had my life figured out. I'd been renting this condo from my parents for 3 years, building my freelance design business, finally feeling stable. The agreement was simple. I'd pay market rent, maintain the place, and eventually buy it when I saved enough for a down payment. I fumbled for my phone, dialing my mother with trembling fingers. Straight to voicemail. Of course. Hey there, cousin. The sickeningly sweet voice made me freeze. Jordan stood at the edge of my driveway, designer purse swinging, perfect smile gleaming. Guess who just bought her first home? My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? Aunt Juliana and Uncle Francis gave me such an amazing deal. I mean, they practically gifted it to me. She twirled her keys, my keys, around her finger. I can't wait to renovate. This place needs so much work. I barely heard the rest of her gloating. My feet carried me automatically to my parents' house 3 blocks away. The familiar colonial-style home loomed before me, its basement windows glowing with the illegal apartment's lights, their precious secret income source. My mother opened the door before I could knock. I assumed you'd come, she said, stepping aside. Your father's in his study. The house smelled like fresh coffee and betrayal. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes when I burst in, suddenly 16 again, pleading my case to deaf ears. How could you sell my home without telling me? My voice cracked. I live there. Family helps family, Mom said, perching on Dad's desk. Jordan needed a starter home, and she has such potential. Her new job at the bank. I've been paying rent for 3 years. We had an agreement. Nothing was in writing, Dad mumbled, shuffling papers. Francis, Mom snapped, let me handle this. She turned to me, face carved from ice. You'll have 30 days to vacate. Jordan's being very generous about the timeline. Generous? I laughed, the sound harsh and foreign. Like you were generous letting me believe I had a future there? Don't be dramatic, Willow. You're almost 30. It's time you learned that nothing in life is guaranteed. I stared at them. Really stared. Mom, perfectly coiffed and cold as always. Dad, hiding behind his papers like a coward. The basement door slightly ajar, where their tenant probably heard everything. You're right, I said quietly. Nothing is guaranteed. That night, after hours of angry packing and ignored calls from Jordan about paint samples, I sat in my soon-to-be former living room. My laptop glowed with the city's housing department website. The anonymous complaint form was simple enough to fill out. I hesitated for just a moment, thinking about consequences. Then I remembered Jordan's smirk, Mom's dismissal, Dad's silence. My fingers flew across the keyboard, detailing the illegal basement apartment, the unauthorized electrical work, the multiple building code violations I'd noticed over the years. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. Jordan's thinking of painting the living room sage green. You always did make questionable color choices. I hit submit on the complaint form. Within seconds, an automated email arrived. Inspector Wilson Jones will contact you within 24 hours to discuss your report. Another text from Mom. Don't forget to leave the spare keys when you go. Jordan needs them for the contractor. I smiled for the first time that day, typing my phone number into the contact information field. The inspector would need someone to let them in, after all. Someone who knew exactly where to look. Of course, Mom, I texted back. I wouldn't want to make things difficult for family. My phone rang almost immediately, a blocked number. I answered, heart pounding. This is Wilson Jones from the City Housing Department, a deep voice said. I'm calling about an anonymous complaint regarding an illegal rental unit. I walked to my window, watching the lights in my parents' basement flicker on. Their tenant's shadow moved across the curtains, unaware that everything was about to change. Yes, I said, I have some information you might find interesting. Remember when you won that art competition in high school? Daisy asked, helping me pack my books into boxes. And your mom just said, that's nice, while making a huge deal about Jordan's participation trophy in soccer? 3rd place in a state competition versus participation in junior varsity, I muttered, wrapping a photo frame in bubble wrap. But Jordan had real potential. God, that Christmas when you got self-help books while she got a MacBook? I paused, a memory hitting me like a slap. You know what Mom told me that year? Jordan needs the computer for college applications. You just draw all day. You can use the library computers. Daisy dropped the packing tape. That's messed up. And now they're just giving her your home? Their home, I corrected. They never let me forget who owned it. My phone buzzed. Another text from Jordan. The bathroom tiles are so dated. Think I'll gut it completely. I installed those tiles myself last summer, I said, showing Daisy the message. Spent my entire savings on the renovation. Screw them, Daisy declared, grabbing her car keys. Come on, we're taking a drive. 20 minutes later, we parked across from my parents' house. The basement tenant's car was gone. They always worked late on Thursdays. Look, I pointed to the carefully concealed separate entrance. Dad built that himself. No permits, no inspections. The electric meter's rigged too. Daisy pulled out her phone. Perfect lighting for photos. The housing department will love these. What if I'm going too far? I asked, watching her document everything. Too far? Like when your mom told you art school was a waste but paid Jordan's entire college tuition? Or when they promised you could buy this condo but sold it behind your back? Daisy turned to me. They're making their own karma here. My phone rang. The inspector. Ms. Willow? Wilson Jones here. Could you verify the exact address for the complaint? I looked at the house where I'd never been good enough, where Jordan had been crowned princess while I was told to be practical, realistic, less dramatic. Yes, I said clearly. It's 347 Maple Street. The entrance is behind the rhododendrons. They've been renting it out for 15 years. After hanging up, another memory surfaced, my 16th birthday, watching Jordan open my presents first because she's visiting, Mom beaming as Jordan tried on the art supplies I'd hinted at for months. You never needed fancy materials, Mom had said when I got quiet. Jordan's just starting to explore her creativity. Daisy touched my arm. You okay? They're about to lose their precious rental income, I said. The fines for unauthorized units start at $50,000. Good, Daisy said firmly. Let them feel what it's like to lose something they count on. A car pulled into my parents' driveway, Mom returning from her tennis game. She looked right at us but didn't wave. Remember what she said when you got that huge graphic design contract last year? Daisy asked. Jordan's banking job has benefit, I quoted, because apparently freelancing isn't a real career. My phone lit up with a text from the inspector. Site visit scheduled for next week. The complainant's identity remains confidential. They'll know it was me, I said. So what? They sold your home to their precious Jordan. What else can they take from you? I watched Mom disappear inside, probably planning more ways to prop up Jordan's perfect life. The basement lights flickered on, right on schedule. You know what Mom told me once? I said, starting the car. She said being harder on me meant I'd survive better than Jordan, that I needed to be stronger. Well, Daisy smiled grimly, she's about to find out how strong you've become. At home? No. At the condo, Jordan had left a Pinterest board taped to my door. Ideas for my new home, the heading screamed in glittery pen. I ripped it down, but not before noticing her plans to tear out the garden I'd planted. The herb garden that had fed me through lean months when clients paid late. My phone buzzed again. Mom, Jordan's designer needs access tomorrow. Be out by noon. I thought about the inspector's photos, the pending investigation, the years of unpermitted rental income about to catch up with them. No problem, I texted back. Just remember what you always told me. Nothing in life is guaranteed. I could almost hear her scoff at my attitude, but soon she'd have bigger problems than my tone. The housing department was very interested in anonymous tips these days, especially about illegal units in upscale neighborhoods. Karma's not a bitch, I told Daisy as she helped me pack the last box. She's just finally paying attention. These walls are so dingy, Jordan announced, running her manicured fingers along the freshly painted surface I'd finished just last month. And this light fixture? So basic. I continued wrapping my dishes in newspaper, counting backwards from 10. The sooner I packed, the sooner I could escape her impromptu renovation consultation. Oh my God, what's this? She pulled my childhood scrapbook from a shelf. How cute, you kept all this old stuff. Put that down. I reached for it, but she danced away, flipping the pages. Oh, look at these drawings. Remember when you thought you'd be a famous artist? She laughed. Thank God Aunt Juliana talked sense into you. The scrapbook slipped from her hands, spilling loose papers across the floor. Among them, a yellowed envelope caught my eye, partially burned around the edges. Oops! Sorry, not sorry, Jordan chirped, already distracted by measuring the windows for real curtains, not these cheap things. I waited until she moved to the kitchen before snatching up the envelope. Inside was a letter in my late Aunt Sarah's handwriting, Jordan's mother. Dearest Juliana, it began, I know what you did with Mother's will, how you convinced Francis to help you change. My phone rang, startling me. Unknown number. Willow? It's Uncle Reginald. I hadn't heard from Mom's brother in years. They'd had some falling out before Aunt Sarah died. I heard about the condo situation, he said. History repeating itself, isn't it? What do you mean? Your mother pulled the same trick with your grandmother's will, changed the terms after Sarah died, made everything pass through Francis first. Jordan wasn't supposed to get anything special. Neither was Juliana. My hands shook. How do you know this? Because Sarah found out. That letter she wrote, the one Juliana tried to burn. It explains everything. I've been gathering proof for years. In the kitchen, Jordan was FaceTiming her designer. The counters have to go, and that tacky backsplash. I have the letter, I said quietly. It survived. Silence on the line. Then, keep it safe. Things are about to get interesting for your mother. After hanging up, I found Jordan rearranging my furniture. This layout is all wrong. Good thing you're leaving soon. The real renovations can't start with all your stuff here. The doorbell rang. A courier stood outside with an official-looking envelope addressed to Mom. Wrong address. I'll take it to her, I offered when Jordan reached for it. Whatever. I'm late for brunch anyway. She grabbed her designer bag. Oh, and the painters are coming tomorrow. Hope you're out by then. Once alone, I studied the envelope. City of Boston Housing Department. My hands trembled as I carefully opened it, sliding out the notice. Mandatory inspection, zoning violation report. Failure to comply will result in significant penalties. My phone pinged with Instagram notifications. Jordan was already posting photos of my new home renovation journey, featuring my space tagged as her blank canvas. I photographed the notice and sealed it back up. Evidence of tampering would only help their case. Walking to my parents' house, I spotted Isla, their next-door neighbor, working in her garden. "Oh, Willow," she called. "Such a shame about your condo. But that basement tenant of theirs finally moved out last night. Couldn't take the noise from the pipes anymore, I heard." I paused. "Really? When?" "Loaded up a U-Haul after dark. Your mother was quite upset this morning. Something about lost rent. Perfect timing. The inspection would find an empty illegal unit. No tenant to deny access or complicate things. Mom opened her door before I could knock. What now?" "Wrong address," I said, handing over the envelope. "Came to my place. I mean, Jordan's place." She ripped it open, face paling as she read. "This is ridiculous. Some mistake." "Really? Like the mistake of selling my home without telling me?" "Don't start, Willow. Jordan deserves a property that was never yours to give." The words slipped out before I could stop them. "Aunt Sarah might disagree." Mom went very still. "What are you talking about?" "Nothing," I said sweetly. "Just delivering mail. Family helps family, right?" I left her standing in the doorway, clutching the notice. Behind her, through the window, I could see Dad frantically making phone calls. My phone buzzed with a text from Uncle Reginald. "Lawyer's ready when you are. That letter is our smoking gun." Another Instagram notification. Jordan posting about manifesting her dreams and deserving nice things. I touched the letter in my pocket. "Dreams are about to turn into nightmares," I whispered, walking away from the house where lies had lived for so long. Behind me, I heard Mom's voice rising in panic. "Francis, call the contractor, now!" 7 business days. Dad's voice trembled through my phone. "They're giving us 7 days to prepare for inspection." "That's unfortunate," I said, watching Jordan's latest Instagram story, a champagne toast in my former living room. "Why are you telling me this?" "Your mother? She thought maybe you could help. Write a letter vouching for us?" I muted Jordan's story mid-celebration. "Like how you vouched for me when she sold my home." "Willow, please. The fines could bankrupt us. Nothing in life is guaranteed, Dad. Isn't that what Mom always says?" Daisy arrived just as I hung up, carrying coffee and a knowing smile. "Ready to do some reconnaissance?" We parked across from my parents' house again, this time with recording equipment borrowed from Daisy's journalism job. Isla was right on schedule, watering her roses. "Mrs. O'Brien," Daisy called out. "Remember me? We met at Willow's housewarming." Isla brightened. "Oh, yes. Terrible business, that sale. Did you know they're trying to hide that basement apartment? Covering up the entrance with those new bushes? Daisy's recorder hummed quietly in her pocket. Really? I thought rental units needed proper exits? Oh, it's completely illegal, Isla leaned in. Been that way for 15 years. The noise, the extra cars, the separate mailbox they tried to hide behind the fence. Every word was perfect. Exactly what the housing department needed. Daisy kept her talking, while I watched Mom pace behind her living room curtains. My phone buzzed with texts. Jordan, having my first dinner party tonight. Too bad you won't be here to see how amazing the place looks. Mom, the inspector called. Please, Willow, we can work something out. Uncle Reginald, lawyer has the will documents. Ready when you are. I ignored them all, watching Dad frantically nail boards over the basement windows. Too little, too late. Got it, Daisy whispered, stopping the recording. Want to hear? Before I could answer, a city vehicle pulled up. Mom practically ran outside. Inspector Jones, we weren't expecting you until next week. Preliminary visit, ma'am. Wilson adjusted his clipboard. Notice any unusual activity lately? Anonymous tips often spike when tenants move out suddenly. Mom's face went white. I don't know what you mean. Really? Because your neighbor just gave quite a detailed statement about your rental history. I couldn't help it. I walked over playing innocent. Mom, everything okay? She grabbed my arm, nails digging in. Tell him there's no rental unit. Tell him. Mrs. Romero? Wilson interrupted. Attempting to influence witness statements is a separate violation. Witness? Mom's grip loosened. Willow, what did you do? I smiled, channeling Jordan's sugary sweetness. Nothing, Mom. Just helping family. Isn't that what we do? Wilson cleared his throat. The formal inspection is still scheduled for next week. I recommend having your lawyer present. As he left, Mom turned on me. You ungrateful little... Everything okay here? Isla called out, still recording everything on her phone. I have such a clear view from my garden. Mom stormed inside. Through the window, I watched her scream at Dad, who was still holding his hammer, looking lost. My phone pinged again. Jordan had posted photos of her dinner party. So blessed to have parents who believe in me. Best investment ever. Send me that recording, I told Daisy. The housing department might find it interesting. That night, I sat in my temporary apartment, surrounded by boxes, watching Mom's desperate attempts to call me. 10 missed calls, 20 texts. The last one caught my eye. We'll lose everything. Is that what you want? I thought about Christmas mornings, watching Jordan open the best presents, about art school rejection letters Mom had forged in my name, about Dad's silence when I begged them not to sell my home. You can't lose what was never really yours, I texted back. My laptop pinged, an email from Wilson. Anonymous tip line received audio evidence of long-term rental violations. Fines may be adjusted accordingly. I forwarded Mom's threatening text to Uncle Reginald's lawyer, then opened Instagram one last time. Jordan's party was in full swing, my old furniture pushed aside for her designer pieces. To new beginnings, her caption read, so grateful for family who knows what I deserve. I clicked the block button and closed the app. Through my window, I could see the city lights flickering like karma finally waking up. My phone buzzed one last time. Dad, your mother's talking about selling the house before inspection. Please, we can fix this. Nothing to fix, I replied. Family helps family, remember? I'm just following Mom's example. Then I turned off my phone and slept better than I had in years. The doorbell rang at 8 a.m. sharp. Through my parents' security camera feed, they'd never changed the password, I watched Mom smooth her hair and paste on her best social smile. Inspector Jones, we weren't expecting you until... Surprise inspection, Mrs. Romero. Wilson's voice was crisp. Legal requirement when we suspect evidence tampering. Dad appeared behind her, coffee cup shaking in his hand. We were just about to finish covering up the basement entrance. Wilson gestured to the half-installed latticework. Step aside, please. I switched to the basement camera. They cleared out most evidence of the rental, but the separate electric meter remained, along with years of tenant mail they'd forgotten to remove from behind the water heater. Sir, this is just storage space, Mom insisted, following Wilson down the stairs. Storage space with a kitchen and mail dating back to 2019? He photographed everything. Mr. Romero, care to explain the unauthorized electrical work? Dad's coffee cup clattered to the floor. Juliana handled all the paperwork. Francis! Mom's voice could have frozen hell. Mrs. Romero, Wilson turned to her, tampering with electrical systems without permits is a serious violation. Who performed this work? Mom looked at Dad, who suddenly found the floor fascinating. I did, Dad whispered. Juliana said we needed the rental income after she changed the will. Changed what will? Wilson asked. Mom's hand clamped over Dad's mouth. Nothing. He's confused. My phone buzzed. Uncle Reginald. Lawyer submitted the inheritance documents. Court date next week. Perfect timing. Wilson's voice hardened. Mrs. Romero, we have documented evidence of long-term rental fraud, unauthorized construction, and now possible inheritance tampering. The fines start at $50,000, not including legal penalties. But Jordan's condo payment, Mom whispered. What about it? We used the rental income as proof of funds for her mortgage. I nearly dropped my phone. They'd committed mortgage fraud too. That's another department's problem, Wilson said, writing furiously. For now, you have 24 hours to disconnect all unauthorized utilities and begin restoration to original condition. But our tenant already provided a statement, Wilson cut her off, along with rent receipts. Through the camera, I watched Mom sink onto the illegal kitchen's counter, her perfect posture finally breaking. My phone lit up with a call from Jordan. I answered out of curiosity. The septic system is backing up, she shrieked. The whole condo smells. This is your fault somehow, isn't it? I smiled. Karma's funny that way. Aunt Juliana, Jordan wailed. My housewarming party is tonight. Fix this. But Mom was too busy watching Wilson document every violation to answer her phone. One more thing, Wilson said, holding up a stack of mail. Redirecting tenant mail is a federal offense. Expect contact from the postal inspector. Dad dropped onto the basement stairs. Juliana, what have you done to us? Me? Mom's voice rose hysterically. You helped! All those years of keeping quiet, letting me handle everything while you played innocent. I should have stopped you, Dad said quietly. When you changed Sarah's will, when you sold Willow's condo, when you... Shut up, Mom screamed. Wilson cleared his throat. Adding this conversation to my report. Expect the first fine notice within 48 hours. After he left, I watched my parents stare at each other in the basement. They turned into a house of cards. My phone buzzed again. Jordan. Party canceled. My life is ruined. Mom, was it you? Did you report us? Uncle Reginald. Court summons delivered to Juliana. It's starting. I forwarded Wilson's inspection photos to Uncle Reginald's lawyer, then texted Mom back. Funny how secrets don't stay buried forever. Through the camera, I watched her read my message. For the first time in my life, I saw real fear in her eyes. Francis, she whispered, call the bank. We need to know our options. Dad just shook his head. No more fixes, Juliana. No more schemes. My phone pinged with an Instagram notification. Jordan had posted a tear-filled rant about toxic family members and sabotage. I commented with a single emoji. Mom's next text was desperate. We can make this right. Please. The fines will destroy us. I thought about all the times she destroyed my dreams to build Jordan's up, about Dad's silent complicity, about the burned letter proving none of us had ever known the whole truth. Karma's not destroying you, I texted back. Your choices are. Then I watched through the camera as Mom finally broke down crying, while Dad walked upstairs without comforting her. Sometimes revenge doesn't need a grand gesture. Sometimes it just needs truth and time. The bank's threatening to call in our loans. Dad's voice cracked through my voicemail. We used the rental income to qualify. Without it. Willow, please. Your mother's not eating. We need help. I deleted the message and opened my laptop to find 3 urgent emails. From Mom, family meeting. Tonight, non-negotiable. From Jordan, my mortgage is under review. From Zara, my old childhood friend, we need to talk about Jordan. I replied only to Zara, agreeing to meet at the coffee shop downtown. When I arrived, she was nervously shredding a napkin. Jordan asked me to help her Airbnb the condo, she blurted out, under the table, while she's waiting for renovations. I sipped my coffee. Interesting. The HOA specifically prohibits short-term rentals. I know. She's desperate. Said something about her mortgage being questioned. Zara pulled out her phone. Look at her listing. It's already live. There was my former home, advertised as a luxury getaway for $300 per night, using my furniture in the photos. The HOA board would hate to see this, I mused, forwarding screenshots to my email. That's why I told you, Zara said. After what she did to you, karma needs a little push sometimes. My phone buzzed. Daisy calling. I stepped outside to answer. I got the job in London, she said without preamble. They need me there next month. The world tilted slightly. My best friend, my support system, leaving just when everything was falling apart. That's great, I managed. I'm sorry about the timing. With everything happening, no, you should go, really. I swallowed hard. I'm fine. Back inside, Zara was texting rapidly. Jordan's freaking out. The HOA just fined her $5,000 for unauthorized rental listings. Anonymous tip? I asked innocently. Very anonymous, she winked. Oh, and your mom's been calling everyone, trying to raise money for legal fees. Right on cue, my phone lit up with Mom's number. I answered on speaker. The fines are due tomorrow, she said, voice raw. $50,000 we don't have. Please, Willow, we can remortgage the house. Like you remortgaged my future? I watched Zara's eyes widen at my tone. How's Jordan's perfect life working out? This isn't about Jordan, Mom snapped. This is about family. Family helps family, I quoted. Isn't that what you said when you sold my home? Silence. Then, your father told the bank everything. About the rental fraud, the will, all of it. We could lose everything. You already lost me, I said quietly. Everything else is just paperwork. After hanging up, Zara showed me Jordan's latest Instagram story, a tearful rant about financial harassment and family betrayal. She's always been your parents' golden child, Zara said, even in school, when she'd take credit for your art projects. What? You didn't know? She told everyone she helped you. That's why your mom thought she had artistic potential. Another piece of the puzzle clicked into place. All those years of Mom praising Jordan's creativity while dismissing mine. My phone chimed with a text from an unknown number. This is Marcus from Legal Aid. Your Uncle Reginald asked me to contact you about contesting the inheritance. I showed Zara the message. Want to help me burn down some more bridges? Honey, those bridges were rotten anyway. We spent the next hour forwarding evidence. Jordan's illegal rental listings, Mom's rental fraud, Dad's unauthorized construction work. Each click felt like breaking another chain. Then Daisy called again. Your mom just showed up at my apartment crying about how you're destroying the family. What did you say? That she destroyed it first. She didn't like that answer. My phone exploded with notifications. Jordan, the HOA is threatening eviction. Mom, the bank froze our accounts. Dad, please call us. We can explain everything. Uncle Reginald, Court date moved up. Be ready. I silenced them all and looked at Zara. Think I've gone too far? She pulled up Jordan's social media, full of stolen moments and manufactured success. They went too far first. You're just showing them the way back. Outside, rain started falling. Somewhere across town, my parents were probably staring at their frozen accounts. Jordan was facing HOA fines she couldn't pay, and all their carefully constructed lies were washing away. Daisy's leaving, I said suddenly. London. Zara squeezed my hand. Then we'll watch them unravel together. Someone needs to document karma in action. My phone lit up one last time. The lawyer again. Found something interesting in the mortgage applications. How soon can you meet? I thought about Mom's tears, Jordan's tantrums, Dad's desperate voicemails. Today, I typed back, I'm ready now. The courthouse steps felt like a stage, with Mom, Dad, and Jordan huddled on one side while Uncle Reginald's lawyer spread documents across his briefcase on the other. The will tampering is clear, Marcus explained, pointing to highlighted sections. Your mother altered dates, forged signatures, and redirected assets through your father's name to avoid inheritance tax. That's a lie, Mom's voice echoed to him through the hallway. Willow, stop this madness! Jordan stormed over, mascara streaked down her face. The bank suspended my mortgage. I'm going to lose everything. Like I lost my home? I kept my voice steady. The one you just had to have? You didn't deserve it. You're just an artist, a dreamer. I have a real career. A career built on fraud, Marcus interjected, pulling out more papers. Your mortgage application lists rental income that never existed. That's federal fraud, Ms. Mackenzie. Jordan's perfect facade cracked. Aunt Juliana said it was fine. She said she'd covered the payments until... Until what? I asked. Until you finished destroying everything I built? Order in the hallway. A bailiff approached. Court's about to begin. Inside, the judge reviewed the documentation with increasing concern. Mom kept trying to catch my eye, mouthing please over and over. Mrs. Romero, the judge finally spoke, these allegations are serious. Will tampering, mortgage fraud, illegal rental income. It was for family. Mom stood up. Everything I did was to protect who? Uncle Reginald interrupted from the gallery. My sister Sarah's will was clear. The properties were to be divided equally. You changed that, didn't you? Sarah didn't understand. Jordan needed what? I turned to face her. To be handed everything while I got nothing? To steal my home because you decided she deserved it more? I made you stronger, Mom shouted. Everything I did made you independent while Jordan what? The judge's voice cut through. Committed mortgage fraud under your guidance? Jordan burst into tears. I can't lose my house. My followers are expecting a renovation series. It was never your house, I said quietly. Just like it was never really mine. The judge cleared his throat. Given the evidence, I'm freezing all assets pending investigation. Mrs. Romero, you'll need criminal defense counsel. Dad finally spoke up. We used the rental income for Jordan's mortgage. Without it, Marcus added, both properties are subject to immediate review for fraud. Mom collapsed into her chair. Willow, please, we can fix this. I thought about all the times she'd said that. When she lost my art school acceptance letters, when she gave Jordan my college fund, when she sold my home without warning. No, Mom, you can't fix karma. Jordan lunged at me, her designer bag swinging. You vindictive bitch! You've ruined everything! The bailiff intercepted her as Uncle Reginald stood. Should I tell them about Sarah's last letter, Juliana? The one you tried to burn? Mom went pale. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, he said. You played favorites until it became fraud. Now you're facing the consequences. The judge banged his gavel. Properties frozen. Assets held pending criminal investigation. Next hearing in 30 days. Outside, Jordan was having a full meltdown on the courthouse steps, live streaming to her followers about family betrayal. "The bank wants their down payment back," Dad said hollowly. "We don't have it." "You had 15 years of illegal rental income," I reminded him. "Where did it all go?" "Ask your mother," he whispered. "She handled everything." Mom stood alone, her perfect image finally shattered. "I only wanted what was best. For Jordan," I finished. "Never for me." "I made you strong," she insisted. "Look how well you survive." "No, Mom, you made me angry. There's a difference." My phone buzzed. Daisy sending support from London. Behind me, Marcus was already discussing next steps with Uncle Reginald. "The criminal investigation starts tomorrow," he told Mom. "I suggest you get a lawyer." Jordan's wails echoed off the courthouse walls. "My followers trusted me. My brand is ruined." I walked away as Mom called after me. "Willow, you can't leave us like this." "Watch me," I said, not turning back. Uncle Reginald caught up with me at my car. "Sarah would be proud of you. She always said you were the strong one." "Strong enough to survive them," I nodded. "Strong enough to stop them, too." My phone lit up with notifications. "Jordan, I'm being evicted. How could you do this to family?" "Mom, the police want our financial records." "Dad, please help us fix this." I deleted them all and drove home to my small rental apartment where no one could take anything from me ever again. Behind me, Mom's carefully constructed dynasty crumbled under the weight of its own lies, while Jordan's perfect life dissolved into a series of desperate social media posts. Sometimes karma doesn't need help. Sometimes she just needs an audience. The moving truck pulled away from my new apartment, leaving me alone with my boxes and the afternoon sun streaming through windows that were finally, legally mine. The down payment had come from Uncle Reginald's lawyer, my share of the recovered inheritance, plus interest. My phone buzzed with Zara's text, "Turn on the local news." There was Mom, being led out of their house in handcuffs, her tennis whites replaced by a shocked expression. The caption read, "Local realtor arrested for multiple fraud charges." "The defendant faces up to 15 years, the reporter announced, for charges including will tampering, mortgage fraud, and illegal rental income. Another text from Zara, "Jordan's condo is listed for sale, below market value." I switched to Instagram, where Jordan's perfectly curated life had devolved into desperate attempts to rebrand herself after the scandal. Her latest post showed her moving back in with her dad. Sometimes you have to rebuild from nothing but blessed, authentic karma. The doorbell rang. Uncle Reginald with a housewarming gift. "Sarah's old art supplies," he said, setting down a familiar wooden box. "Found them in Juliana's attic. She kept everything she took from you." I opened the box, finding my old brushes, the expensive ones Mom had given Jordan. "She really did plan it all, didn't she?" "Your father confessed everything to avoid charges," he nodded. "How Juliana manipulated the will, used the rental income to fund Jordan's lifestyle, forged documents." My phone lit up, Dad calling. I answered on speaker. "The house is being seized," he said quietly. "Your mother's facing serious time. Jordan's being investigated for mortgage fraud. I should have stopped this years ago." "But you didn't," I replied. "You watched them tear me down and said nothing." "I know. I'm sorry, Willow, for everything." I hung up as another text came through. Daisy sending a photo of her new London office. "Miss you, but so proud. You finally broke their power over you. Uncle Reginald helped me unpack my art supplies, setting up an easel by the window. Sarah always said you had the real talent. That's why Juliana worked so hard to suppress it. Because Jordan needed to be the special one? Because you were already special without any of their help." My phone buzzed again, a news alert. Jordan's bank was pressing charges for mortgage application fraud. Her perfect life had finally hit its karma debt. "Did revenge fix everything?" Uncle Reginald asked softly. No, I admitted, setting up a fresh canvas, but the truth did. I started painting as he left, creating something new in a space that was truly mine. No more conditional help, no more family loyalty tests, no more watching Jordan take what was meant for me. The evening news played in the background. Mom's perfect reputation shattered, Jordan's influencer career in ruins, Dad's quiet compliance exposed. Their carefully constructed facade had crumbled under the weight of its own lies. My phone kept lighting up. Mom, the lawyers say I could avoid jail if you speak on my behalf. Jordan, my life is over and it's all your fault. Dad, please just talk to us. I blocked their numbers and opened my laptop instead, checking my design business emails. New clients, fresh projects, opportunities that had nothing to do with family obligations or stolen dreams. A final text from Zara made me smile. Jordan's trying to sell your old furniture to cover legal fees. Karma's got a weird sense of humor. I looked around my new space, smaller than the condo, but mine in every way that mattered. The walls were already filling with my art, pieces Mom had called impractical, and Jordan had tried to copy. The sunset painted my canvas in shades of justice as I worked, creating something that could never be taken away. Outside, the city hummed with possibilities that had nothing to do with family names or stolen inheritances. My phone lit up one last time. Uncle Reginald. Sarah would be proud. You broke the cycle. I texted back, no more family helping family? No, he replied, just truth finally helping truth. I turned back to my painting, adding colors that Mom would have hated and Jordan would have tried to claim. In the distance, sirens wailed, probably another piece of their perfect world falling apart. But here, in my space, with my art and my truth, nothing could be stolen anymore. No more conditional love, no more forced gratitude, no more watching Jordan receive what was meant for me. Sometimes karma doesn't fix everything, but sometimes she gives you a clean canvas and says, now show them what you can really do. I picked up my brush and began to paint my own story.
I always thought family meant unconditional love until I checked my bank balance that Tuesday morning. The number staring back at me wasn't just wrong, it was impossible. I refreshed the page 3 times before the reality sank in. $47,000 of my savings had vanished. My name is Yara, and I'm the responsible one, the reliable daughter, the one who always said yes when my family needed help. That's probably why I agreed to the joint account in the first place. For emergencies, Dad said. To keep the family safe, Mom added. I was 29, a senior software engineer, and I'd been saving for my own house since I graduated college. I called my father first. No answer. Then my mother. Straight to voicemail. My hands were shaking as I dialed my brother Tristan's number, but I already knew he wouldn't pick up. He never did. The drive to my parents' house took 20 minutes. I found them in the kitchen, Mom washing dishes, Dad reading the paper like it was any other morning. Where's my money? I stood in the doorway, phone clutched in my hand. Dad barely looked up. Good morning to you too, mija. Don't mija me. $47,000 is gone from our joint account. What happened? Mom turned off the faucet, drying her hands slowly on a dish towel. Yara, honey, sit down. We need to talk. No, I don't want to sit. I want answers. Dad folded his newspaper deliberately. Your brother needed help. We handled it. The room started spinning. Handled what? Tristan got into some trouble with gambling debts. Mom's voice was barely a whisper. There was this man, Ramon. You took my house down payment to pay off Tristan's bookie? The words felt like acid in my mouth. We had no choice, Dad snapped. This man was dangerous. Tristan could have been hurt. And what about me? That was my money, my future. Mom started crying, her go-to move whenever things got uncomfortable. You're being selfish, Yara. This is family. Tristan needed us. Selfish? I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. I've given you everything I could since I was 18. College fund for Tristan? I helped. New roof? I paid. Car repairs, emergency dental work, all me. When do I get to stop being the family ATM? Dad stood up, his chair scraping against the tile. That's enough. You have a good job, a nice apartment. Your brother has nothing. We raised you better than this. Better than what? Better than expecting to keep my own money? Money comes and goes, Mom said, wiping her eyes. Family is forever. I left before they could see me cry. Drove home in a daze, barely remembering the trip. My phone buzzed with text messages, probably more guilt trips from Mom, but I ignored them. That night, my phone rang. Dad's number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Silence on the line. Then I heard voices. Dad must have pocket dialed me. Finally settled Tristan's debts with Yara's money. Dad's voice, distant but clear. He was talking to someone else. Francisco, that's terrible. Aunt Ruby's voice. Does she know how much? She found out today. Made a scene about it, too. Acting like we stole from her. You did steal from her. It was a joint account. Perfectly legal. Besides, what's she going to do? She always falls in line eventually. That's why we put the account in her name. She's the responsible one. And Tristan? Dad laughed. He's young. He'll figure it out. At least now we don't have Ramon breathing down our necks. I sat there listening, my whole body numb. They hadn't just taken my money. They'd planned it. Used me. Because I was reliable. Because I always said yes. The call ended abruptly. Dad must have realized his phone was on. Within seconds, my screen lit up with a text from him. Sorry, pocket dial. I stared at those two words for a long time. Sorry. Such a small word for such a massive betrayal. In that moment, I realized I wasn't their daughter. I was their wallet with a pulse, their safety net, their backup plan. My phone buzzed again. A text from Tristan. Hey sis, heard you're upset. Can we talk? I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and started a new document. At the top, I typed Financial Transactions, Martinez Family, 2020-2023. Below that, I began listing dates, amounts, and patterns I'd noticed over the years. They thought they knew me. Reliable Yara. Responsible Yara. Yara who always forgives. But they had no idea what they'd just created. Because the thing about responsible people, we keep receipts, and I was about to show them exactly how responsible I could be. You're not going to like what I found, I told Fiona, sliding a folder across her desk. 3 weeks had passed since discovering the theft, and I'd spent every free moment building my case. Fiona, my former college roommate turned corporate attorney, opened the folder and started reading. Her eyebrows climbed higher with each page. Jesus, Yara, she looked up. These transfer patterns, they've been bleeding you dry for years. Keep going. I pointed to the last page. Check the signature on that loan document. She squinted at the paper. This is dated 2 years ago. A co-signed personal loan for $20,000? That's not my signature. Shit! Fiona leaned back in her chair. They forged it? Tristan did, probably with Dad's blessing. I pulled out my phone, playing the recorded conversation from last week. Mom's voice filled the room. Just sign it like you did last time, honey. Yara won't mind. Fiona rubbed her temples. You know what this is, right? It's not just theft anymore. We're talking fraud, identity theft, possible tax evasion. I know exactly what it is. I met her eyes. That's why I'm here. What do you want? I want everything they took from me. Not just the money, the dignity, the respect. I want them to face consequences for once in their lives. Fiona stood up and walked to her office window. Remember when we were sophomores and that guy stole your research project? I smiled despite myself. You helped me prove he plagiarized it. And he got expelled. She turned back to me. This is bigger than that, Yara. This is family. If you start this fight, there's no going back. No family dinners, no holidays, no reconciliation. They already killed all that when they stole my future. A memory hit me suddenly, standing in my parents' backyard 3 years ago, watching workers replace the roof. I'd just sold my travel fund, money I'd saved for a dream trip to study abroad in graduate school. Mom had hugged me, saying how blessed she was to have such a giving daughter. Now I wondered if they'd use that money for Tristan too. Fiona, I said quietly, I need your help, but I need to do this right. She sat back down, pulling out a legal pad. Revenge is a loaded gun. If you fire it, be ready for the kickback. I'm ready. Okay. She started writing. First, we document everything, every transfer, every forged signature, every recorded conversation. Then we start building the paper trail. My phone buzzed. Another text from Mom. Family dinner Sunday? Tristan misses you. I showed it to Fiona. Don't respond, she advised. From now on, everything goes through me. No direct contact unless absolutely necessary. What's our first move? The bank. She tapped her pen against the desk. That joint account? We're going to have it audited. Every transaction flagged as suspicious, every gift over the tax-free limit reported. They'll know it was me. Of course they will, but they won't be able to prove it. She leaned forward. Listen carefully, Yara. I can help you, but after this, you don't go back. You hear me? This ends with them facing real consequences. My phone buzzed again. Dad this time. Your mother's crying because you won't answer her texts. Is this how we raised you? I turned off my phone. Tell me what to do next, I said. Fiona handed me a business card. This is Sandra from the bank's fraud division. Call her tomorrow. Express concern about unauthorized transfers from your joint account. Ask questions. Plant seeds of doubt. And then? Then we wait. Let the system do its job. She started making notes. Meanwhile, we'll gather evidence about that forged loan signature. That's your nuclear option if we need it. I thought about all the times I'd backed down, stayed quiet, been the good daughter. All the dreams I'd sacrificed because family came first. All the times Tristan got bailed out while I paid the price. One more thing, Fiona said, looking up from her notes. You need an alibi for what's coming. Start being visible, go to work events, post on social media, let people see you living normally. Why? Because when this hits, your family will try to paint you as bitter and vindictive. We need to show you're just a victim seeking justice. I nodded, standing up. Thank you, Fiona. Don't thank me yet. She closed the folder. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. Are you sure you want to do this? I thought about Dad's laughter on that accidental phone call, about Mom's tears being used as weapons, about Tristan's endless second chances. They raised me to be responsible, I said. Time to show them exactly how responsible I can be. Fiona's smile was sharp. Then let's get to work. Sandra from the bank's fraud division had kind eyes and a voice that could cut steel. Ms. Yara, can you explain why you believe these transfers were unauthorized? I sat in her office, wearing my most professional blazer, the one I saved for client meetings. I discovered several large withdrawals that I never approved. When I confronted my family, they admitted using the money to pay off my brother's gambling debts. I see. She typed something into her computer. And the payments were made to whom? A man named Ramon. He's some kind of bookie. I pulled out my phone. I have a recording of my father discussing the payment with my aunt. Sandra's eyebrows shot up as she listened to the recording. There seems to be some misrepresented purpose here. Would you be open to providing your side in a formal statement? Absolutely. While Sandra printed forms, my phone lit up with a text from Layla, my coworker. Your brother's here at the office looking for you. My stomach clenched. I texted back. Stall him. I'm not there. What exactly are you hoping to achieve here? Sandra asked, returning with paperwork. I want my money back, and I want to ensure this never happens again. She nodded, sliding the forms across her desk. These transfers were marked as gifts to avoid scrutiny, but given the circumstances, we may need to involve other departments. Other departments? Tax compliance, for one. Gifts over $15,000 require proper documentation. These weren't gifts. They were unauthorized transfers to a gambling operator. My phone buzzed again. Layla. He's gone. Said to tell you he needs help with something urgent. I bet he did. After leaving the bank, I drove straight to Fiona's office. She was on the phone when I walked in, but her expression told me everything. Just got off with my contact at the county records office, she said, hanging up. Your parents put up their house as collateral for a private loan. Guess who the lender is? Ramon? Bingo. They used their home equity to secure a gambling debt. Very illegal, especially since Ramon isn't a licensed lender. I sank into a chair. Why would they risk their house? Because they thought they had you as backup. Fiona pulled up something on her computer. Look at this. I found a secondary account under your father's name. It's linked to an offshore bank. A failsafe, I realized, in case everything went wrong. Exactly. And guess what else? She turned the screen towards me. The account was opened the same day they drained your savings. My phone rang. Tristan, I let it go to voicemail. He showed up at my office today, I told Fiona. Don't engage. Not yet. She started typing. We need to document everything. Every call, every visit, every attempt at contact. My voicemail notification pinged. Tristan's voice filled the room. Sis, I know you're mad, but I really need your help. Just one more time. I promise. Call me back. Delete it, Fiona said, but save the timestamp. I did as she said, then asked, What's our next move? We follow the money. She showed me another document. Ramon's operation isn't exactly legal. Once the bank flags these transfers as suspicious, it'll trigger an automatic review. And my parents? They'll have to explain why they misrepresented the transfers as gifts. The IRS doesn't like that kind of creative accounting. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof because of this bank investigation. Is this what you wanted? Fiona read it over my shoulder. Classic manipulation. Don't respond. I wasn't planning to. Good. She closed her laptop. Because tomorrow things get interesting. The bank's fraud division is going to request documentation for every major transfer from the past 3 years. They won't have it. Exactly. And when they can't produce it? She smiled. Well, let's just say the dominoes will start falling. I stood up to leave, but Fiona caught my arm. Yara, remember what I said about kickback? It's starting. They'll try to guilt you, shame you, maybe even threaten you. Are you ready for that? I thought about the text from Mom, about Tristan's desperate voicemail, about Dad's hidden account. They taught me everything I know about responsibility, I said. Time for their lesson plan to backfire. As I walked to my car, another text came through, this time from Aunt Ruby. I know what they did to you. When you're ready to talk, I'm here. I showed it to Fiona, who was walking me out. Keep that one close, she advised. We might need her later. The sun was setting as I drove home, casting long shadows across the city. Somewhere out there, my family was probably having dinner, making plans, thinking they still had control. They had no idea what was coming. The first crack appeared exactly where Fiona predicted, in the tax paperwork. I was at work when my phone lit up with her message. They filed the transfers as gifts. IRS flagged it. Meeting in 20? I found her in her office, surrounded by documents. Your parents filed 6 separate gifts to Tristan last year, she said without looking up. All just under the reporting threshold. Very convenient. Too convenient? Way too convenient. The IRS loves patterns like that. She handed me a paper. They call it structuring. It's a huge red flag. My phone rang. Tristan again. This time I answered and put it on speaker. Sis? His voice cracked. Please, I need to explain. I'm listening. Look, I messed up. I know that, but I'll pay you back someday, I swear. Just, can you call off these investigators? I caught Fiona's eye. She nodded, pressing record on her phone. How exactly did you plan to pay me back, Tristan? I don't know yet, but I will. You know me, I always figure something out. Like you figured out how to forge my signature on that loan? Silence. Yeah, I know about that too. That wasn't. Mom and Dad said it would be okay. They said you'd understand. Understand fraud? Don't be dramatic. His voice hardened. They were right. You always think you're better than us. The line went dead. Fiona stopped recording. Well, that was helpful. How so? He just admitted to the forgery and implicated your parents as co-conspirators. She added the recording to her evidence file. Plus, it shows a pattern of behavior. They knew what they were doing was wrong. My laptop pinged with an email from Sandra at the bank. Meeting requested. Urgent matter regarding account activity. 20 minutes later, we sat in Sandra's office. She looked grave. We've completed our initial review, she said, sliding a folder across her desk. These transactions raise several concerns. First, the gifts were structured to avoid reporting requirements. Second, we found evidence of possible identity theft. The loan, I said. Yes, and there's more. She pulled up something on her screen. Your father's secondary account? It's linked to a series of suspicious wire transfers. Fiona leaned forward. Money laundering? We can't confirm without a full investigation. But Sandra met my eyes. There seems to be some misrepresented purpose here. Would you be willing to provide a formal statement? About everything? Everything. I looked at Fiona, who nodded. Tell them. For the next hour, I laid it all out. The years of financial abuse, the forged signatures, the recorded conversations. Sandra took detailed notes. One last thing, she said as we finished. We'd like to verify this signature. It lists you as a co-signer in 2021. I felt the room tilt as she showed me the document. Another loan, one I'd never seen before. That's not my signature either. Sandra's expression hardened. That's what we suspected. Back in Fiona's office, my phone exploded with texts. Mom, the bank called your father. What have you done? Dad, call me immediately. Tristan, you've ruined everything. Don't respond, Fiona warned. Let them panic. What happens now? Now? She smiled grimly. Now we wait for the IRS to do their job. And believe me, they're very good at their job. My phone buzzed again. Aunt Ruby, your mother's hysterical. They got a letter from the IRS. Should I feel bad? I asked Fiona. For wanting justice? For stopping them from stealing your future? She shook her head. They made their choices. Now they get to live with them. I scrolled through my photos, finding one from 3 years ago, me and Tristan at his college graduation. I'd helped pay for that, too. You know what the worst part is? I said, showing Fiona the photo. I would have helped him if he'd just asked. Actually asked, not stolen. That's why you're better than them, she replied. And that's why you'll win. My phone lit up with one final text from Dad. We raised you better than this. I thought about all the times they'd used that line, all the times they'd manipulated me with family obligation and guilt. You're right, Dad, I muttered, turning off my phone. You raised me to be thorough, responsible, and methodical. Congratulations. Your lesson worked perfectly. Fiona was watching me. Ready for phase 2? I nodded. Let's show them exactly what their responsible daughter can do. She opened her laptop, pulling up a new document. Then let's talk about that offshore account your father thinks we haven't found yet. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky. A storm was coming. Good. I'd always done my best work in the rain. The cafe where I met Aunt Ruby was quiet for a Sunday morning. She looked older than I remembered, worn down by family secrets. Your mother hasn't slept in days, she said, stirring her coffee. The bank froze their home equity line. They're reviewing the mortgage contract. Because Dad used the house as collateral for Ramon? She nodded. Francisco always thought he could fix everything with money, usually yours. Why did you agree to meet me? Ruby set down her spoon. Because I watched them do this to you for 20 years. Every time Tristan messed up, you paid the price. Literally. Tell me about Dad, I said. About why he favors Tristan. She sighed. Your father was 19 when Tristan was born. Scared, overwhelmed. He saw himself in your brother, all that charm, all that potential. But you? She reached across the table, touching my hand. You were different. Strong, independent. Like your grandmother. The one who cut Dad off? For the same reasons you're fighting back now. He took advantage, thought family meant unlimited chances. My phone buzzed. Mom calling. I declined it. They got another letter yesterday, Ruby said. From the IRS this time. Margaret burst into tears, called me crying about how you're tearing the family apart. I'm tearing it apart? They stole my house deposit. Forged my signature, used me as their personal bank for years. I know. Ruby pulled out her phone, showing me a text from Mom. We were just trying to make it fair. You always had everything together. I laughed bitterly. Everything together? I worked 2 jobs through college, lived on ramen, saved every penny while they handed Tristan everything. Francisco thought he was protecting him. Ruby's voice was tired. He didn't want Tristan to struggle like he did, but he forgot about you. No. I corrected her. He took advantage of me. My phone lit up with another text. Layla. Your brother's here again. Looking rough. Does Tristan know? Ruby asked. About the investigation? He knows something's wrong. Keeps trying to see me at work. Be careful, she warned. He's desperate. Ramon isn't exactly the forgiving type. I showed her the documentation I'd gathered, the transfers, the forged signatures, the recorded calls. Her hands shook as she read. This will destroy them, she whispered. They destroyed themselves. I'm just providing evidence. Ruby's phone chimed, Dad calling. She answered on speaker. Have you talked to her? His voice was strained. Yes. And? She has proof, Francisco. Of everything. Silence. Then, tell her to stop this. Now, before she ruins this family. The family's already ruined, Ruby replied. You did that yourself. She hung up, meeting my eyes. What do you need from me? Just the truth. When they ask, tell them what you've seen, what they did. They'll never forgive me. Welcome to my world. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. We raised you better than this. Family forgives. Funny how forgiveness only goes one way, Ruby muttered, reading the text. They take and take, but the moment you stand up for yourself, I'm the villain, I finished. No. She squeezed my hand. You're the wake-up call they never wanted. Outside the cafe, thunder rumbled. Ruby looked out at the gathering storm. Your grandmother would be proud, she said quietly. She always said the strongest women in our family were the ones who learned to say no. Did Dad ever forgive her? For cutting him off? He didn't have to. She wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was teaching him consequences. My phone lit up again. Fiona. IRS wants another meeting. Tomorrow morning. It's really happening, isn't it? Ruby asked. I nodded. The bank's fraud division is involved now. They're investigating every transfer, every loan, every signature. And Ramon? His operation isn't exactly legal. Once the investigation starts... Jesus. Ruby closed her eyes. Francisco has no idea what's coming. He never thought I'd fight back. None of them did. She gathered her purse, standing. Do you want to know the real reason I'm helping you? Why? Because 20 years ago, I watched my sister become someone I didn't recognize, someone who'd hurt her own daughter to protect her son. Maybe this will wake her up. As she left, my phone chimed one final time. A text from Dad. Whatever you're doing, stop it now. This isn't you. I stared at those words, thinking about Ruby's story, about Dad's fear of struggle, about Mom's endless excuses for Tristan. You're right, I whispered to the phone. This isn't me. This is who you created. Outside, the storm finally broke. Rain pounded against the windows, washing everything clean. The IRS office was colder than I remembered. Agent Phillips hadn't smiled once during our meeting, but her eyes sparked with interest as she reviewed the documents. These gift declarations, she said, tapping her pen against the folder. Your parents filed them separately to avoid the reporting threshold. Classic structuring. Fiona, sitting beside me, nodded. And the transfers to Ramon? Mischaracterized as gifts to avoid scrutiny. We're particularly interested in the offshore account. My phone vibrated, Layla again. Your brother's getting worse. He tried to access your computer today. Security removed him. Ms. Yara. Agent Phillips continued, we'd like your permission to expand our investigation. These patterns suggest a longer history of financial misconduct. How far back? At least 5 years, possibly more. I thought about all those years of emergency requests, of guilt trip loans, of watching Tristan get bailed out while I paid the price. Do it, I said. My phone lit up with a text from Mom. The mortgage company called. They're reviewing our loan. Please stop this madness. Agent Phillips noticed the message. Are they attempting to contact you directly? Constantly. She made a note. All communication should go through legal channels now. We've flagged multiple violations, including tax evasion and fraudulent gift reporting. Fiona's phone buzzed. She read the message and touched my arm. The bank just called. They found something else. 20 minutes later, we sat in Sandra's office at the bank. She looked grim as she pulled up a document on her screen. This credit card application was submitted 2 years ago, she said. In your name. I felt the room tilt. I never applied for a credit card through this bank. We know. She turned the screen toward me. Because this signature doesn't match your others. It's another forgery. Fiona leaned forward. How much? The credit limit was $20,000. It's currently maxed out. My hands started shaking. Who made the charges? Sandra pulled up the transaction history. Most were cash advances, withdrawn by someone using your PIN. A PIN I never created. Exactly. She pressed a button on her phone. Security, please send up the video footage we discussed. Minutes later, we watched grainy ATM footage of Tristan withdrawing cash using my card, multiple times, different dates. The credit officer said, "We'd like to verify this signature. It lists you as a co-signer in 2021. I felt the room tilt. Identity theft, Fiona said quietly. Clear as day. My phone rang. Aunt Ruby. I answered on speaker. Yara, you need to know something, she said quickly. Tristan's at your parents' house. He's talking about leaving the country. Something about Ramon coming after him. Fiona straightened. When? Tonight, maybe tomorrow. Francisco's trying to talk him down. After the call, Sandra looked at me. Do you want to press charges? For the identity theft? For all of it. The forgeries, the unauthorized transfers, the credit card fraud. We have enough evidence now. My phone buzzed with a new text from Ramon himself. Your brother owes me more than money now. Better hope he runs fast. I showed it to Fiona. That's witness intimidation, she said. Add it to the file. Sandra was still waiting for my answer about pressing charges. I thought about Tristan planning to run, about Dad trying to protect him one last time, about Mom's tears and guilt trips. Do it, I said. All of it. It'll mean criminal charges, Sandra warned. Your parents could face serious consequences. They already do, I replied. They just don't know it yet. Back in Fiona's office, Layla called with an update. Security found something on your brother's phone when they took it. He was trying to access your work accounts. Why? Looking for money, probably. He seemed desperate. Another text came through, from Mom. We were just trying to make it fair. You always had everything together. Fiona read it over my shoulder and snorted. Everything together? Is that what they call working yourself to exhaustion while they robbed you blind? They never saw it that way, I said. They saw an ATM with a pulse. Well, this ATM just shut down their whole operation. She started gathering the documents. I'm submitting everything to the DA tomorrow morning. Are you ready? I looked at the stack of evidence. Years of theft and lies, all carefully documented. The forged signatures, the fake credit cards, the offshore accounts, all of it leading back to the people who were supposed to protect me. They raised me to be responsible, I said. Time they learned what that really means. My phone lit up one last time. Dad, whatever happens next is on you. For once, I replied, You're right. It is. Then I turned off my phone and watched the sun set through Fiona's office window, knowing that tomorrow everything would change. And I was finally ready. The moving truck arrived at my parents' house on a Wednesday morning. I watched from my car across the street as they loaded furniture I recognized from childhood. Mom's antique dining table, Dad's leather armchair, the cabinet that held all our family photos. My phone buzzed. Fiona. It's done. DA filed charges this morning. Identity theft, tax evasion, fraud. Want company? No, I texted back. I need to see this alone. The bank had frozen their accounts 3 days ago. The IRS placed liens on their property yesterday. The mortgage company called in their loan after discovering the illegal collateral agreement with Ramon. It all happened faster than anyone expected. Aunt Ruby approached my car, tapping on the window. I rolled it down. Tristan's gone, she said without preamble. Left last night. No one knows where. And Ramon? Looking for him? Your parents are... She glanced at the house. Well, you can see. Mom appeared on the front porch, looking small and lost. She spotted my car and froze. Even from here, I could see her hands shaking as she pulled out her phone. My phone lit up with her message. Are you happy now? Ruby read it and sighed. She still doesn't get it, does she? Neither does Dad. As if summoned, he emerged from the house carrying boxes to his car. He looked older, defeated. The man who'd always seemed larger than life now appeared small against the backdrop of his crumbling world. My phone rang. An unknown number. I answered cautiously. Sis? Tristan's voice was barely recognizable. I messed up, really messed up this time. Where are you? Can't say. Ramon's people are. I need help, money, anything. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You're still asking me for money? Please, I'm scared. So was I every time you stole from me. Every time they chose you over me. Every time they made me feel guilty for wanting to keep what was mine. Silence. Then, they were right about you. You're cold. No, Tristan, I'm just finally warm enough to fight back. I hung up as another moving truck pulled up to the house. This one was from an auction company, here for the furniture that would be sold to pay their debts. Ruby touched my arm. Francisco wants to talk to you. About what? He says he can explain everything. I've had enough explanations. Mom was crying on the porch now, watching her life being packed away. Dad stood beside her, arm around her shoulders, looking lost in a way I'd never seen before. My phone buzzed with a text from Fiona. Ramon's been arrested. Tax evasion, illegal gambling, loan sharking. Your evidence helped build the case. I showed Ruby the message. Good, she said firmly. That man destroyed too many lives. Another text came through from Dad. I know you're out there. At least face us. Ruby squeezed my hand. You don't owe them that. I know. I opened my car door. But I owe it to myself. Walking across the street felt like crossing an ocean. Mom saw me first, her face crumpling. Why? She whispered. We're your family. No, I said quietly. I was your ATM. Tristan was your family. Dad stepped forward. Everything we did was theft. I cut him off. Fraud, crime, not love, not family. We were protecting your brother while destroying me. I met his eyes. Did you ever think about that? Mom reached for me. I stepped back. Please, she begged. We can fix this. No, we can't, because this isn't revenge. I looked at the moving trucks, the boxes, the dismantled life they'd built on stolen money. This is rebalancing. Dad's face hardened. You've ruined us. You ruined yourselves. I just provided the evidence. My phone buzzed. Fiona again. Police want to interview your parents today. I showed them the message. Mom started crying harder. Dad's face went pale. This isn't who we raised you to be, he said. You're wrong. I turned to leave. This is exactly who you raised me to be. Thorough, methodical, responsible. I learned from the best. Ruby followed me back to my car. What now? I watched as the auction truck drove away with the last of their furniture. Now they face consequences, maybe for the first time in their lives. And Tristan? He'll surface when he runs out of options. He always does. Mom called out from the porch one last time. Yara, please. But I was already driving away, watching in my rearview mirror as their house, the house they'd mortgaged with stolen money, grew smaller and smaller. On the porch, watching a moving truck carry out their furniture, I murmured, this wasn't revenge, it was rebalancing. And finally, after all these years, the scales were even. To karma, Fiona raised her glass, and the people who help it arrive on schedule. We sat in my new condo's kitchen, unpacking boxes while sharing wine. The closing papers still sat on the counter, ink barely dry. I can't believe you used the recovered money as a down payment, Layla said, arranging dishes in my cabinets. That's some poetic justice. My phone buzzed. Aunt Ruby. Tristan surfaced in Mexico, wants to make a deal with the DA. Speaking of justice, I showed them the message. Fiona smirked. Let me guess, he'll testify against your parents in exchange for immunity? Probably. Some things never change. Some things do. Layla pointed to the window. Like your view, much better than that cramped apartment. A text from Mom appeared. Are you proud now? I deleted it without responding. She'd sent the same message every week since their arraignment. Dad hadn't contacted me since posting bail. Have you read the plea deal terms? Fiona asked, pulling out more wine. No need. Ruby keeps me updated. Dad's facing tax evasion charges. Mom's claiming ignorance, but the forged signatures are hard to explain away. And Ramon? Singing like a bird to federal investigators. Turns out he had dirt on half the city. Layla opened another box, pulling out photo frames. She paused at one, me and Tristan at his graduation. Want me to trash this? No. I took the photo. Keep it as a reminder. Of what? How they hurt you? Of why I fought back. My phone lit up, an email from the DA's office. The subject line read, "Final settlement terms." Fiona read it over my shoulder. "They're offering your parents a deal, reduced charges in exchange for full restitution." Will they take it? They'd be idiots not to. Otherwise, they're looking at serious time. Another text arrived. From Dad this time. "The DA called. We need to talk." "Don't," Fiona warned. "I wasn't planning to." Layla finished with the photos and started on my books. "You know what's crazy? After everything they did, they still think you're the bad guy. Because I stopped being their ATM? Because you showed them consequences exist." My doorbell rang. Ruby stood outside, holding a box. "Found these while helping them pack," she said, setting it down. "Thought you might want them." Inside were old report cards, academic awards, newspaper clippings about my coding competitions, things I thought they'd thrown away. "They kept them?" I whispered, in Francisco's office, hidden behind Tristan's sports trophies. My phone buzzed again. The DA. "Your brother's testimony has been recorded. Trial dates will be set next week." Ruby read the message. "Are you ready for that? Seeing them in court?" "I already saw them lose everything else. What's one more day?" Fiona poured Ruby a glass of wine. "To new beginnings?" "To consequences," I corrected. My phone lit up one last time. An unknown number. The message made my blood freeze. "It cost me everything, but I'm safe now. Thanks for teaching me about consequences." T. "Tristan?" Layla asked. I nodded. "Sounds like he finally learned something." "Did you?" Ruby asked quietly. "Learn something?" I looked around my new kitchen, at the friends who'd supported me, the aunt who'd chosen truth over loyalty, the life I was building from the ashes of what they'd stolen. I learned that karma needs a little help showing up on time. Fiona raised her glass again. "To karma's little helpers?" We clinked glasses as the sunset painted my new walls gold. Tomorrow would bring more challenges. Court dates, testimonies, the weight of facing family in handcuffs. But tonight, "You know what the best revenge is?" I said, unpacking another box. "This, living well, building something they can't touch." Speaking of building, Layla pulled out her phone. "Your story's gone viral on that legal advice forum. People are calling you their hero." "I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who finally said enough." Ruby hugged me suddenly. "You're stronger than all of them combined." My phone buzzed one final time. A message from the bank. "Restitution payment received. Account restored." It wasn't about the money anymore. It never really was. It was about worth, about boundaries, about learning that family isn't an excuse for abuse. "It cost me $50,000 in a family," I said, raising my glass. "But it bought me one hell of a lesson. I don't owe anyone for being born." The others raised their glasses too, and in that moment, surrounded by boxes and hope and hard-won freedom, I finally felt rich in all the ways that mattered, not because of what I'd gained, but because of what I'd refused to lose, my dignity, my future, and most importantly, myself.